Across the globe, from windswept deserts to dense jungle canopies, ancient structures rise with a precision that defies explanation. Stones heavier than modern machinery can lift fit together seamlessly. Walls and temples align with celestial patterns known only to the builders. Generations have passed, yet the methods behind these constructions remain elusive, leaving only the silent testimony of human ingenuity etched in stone. As you follow the worn paths and hidden stairways, you feel the weight of centuries beneath your feet. Each excavation, each carefully aligned pillar, reveals fragments of civilizations whose understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering seems almost impossible. From South American ruins to Asian monoliths, you will encounter feats of craftsmanship and design that continue to puzzle even the most determined scholars. Sacsayhuaman, Peru. High above the modern city of Cusco, the landscape rises into a jagged limestone ridge where silence gathers between enormous stones, and the air feels heavier than the altitude alone should allow. The ground here is uneven and scarred, shaped by both human intent and deep geological time, yet the arrangement of rock feels anything but natural. The site commands a view of the valley below, as though chosen not only for defence, but for visibility and control. Within this high ground stands Sacsayhuaman, an ancient complex whose construction precision remains one of the most unsettling achievements of the Inca world. The most striking feature emerges gradually, not as a single wall, but as a sequence of massive zigzagging terraces that stretch across the hillside with quiet authority. Each retaining wall is formed from immense limestone blocks, some weighing more than 100 tons, fitted together in patterns that appear chaotic at first glance, yet resolve into perfect stability. The stones vary in shape, with dozens of angles and facets carved into their surfaces, and still they interlock so tightly that gaps are nearly impossible to detect. No mortar binds them, and no consistent block size explains their seamless cohesion. Closer inspection deepens the unease, because the precision is not limited to visible joints, but continues around corners and through recessed angles. Many stones were shaped to lock into 3, 4, or even 5 neighbouring blocks, distributing weight in a way that resists movement during earthquakes. This technique, known as polygonal masonry, is found throughout Cusco, yet nowhere is it executed on the scale or complexity seen at Sacsayhuaman. Modern engineers studying the site have noted that replicating this fit today would require detailed modelling and extensive trial and error, even with advanced tools. The Inca civilization responsible for this construction left no written language describing their building methods, only oral traditions recorded centuries later by Spanish chroniclers. According to these accounts, the stones were shaped using harder rocks as tools, patiently hammered and abraded until they matched adjoining surfaces. However, the sheer accuracy of the joins raises difficult questions, especially when microscopic analysis shows surfaces polished so precisely that contact between blocks occurs across broad planes rather than at isolated points. This level of surface matching suggests prolonged refinement far beyond what rough stone tools are typically assumed to achieve. Transporting the stones presents another unresolved challenge, because the limestone used at Sacsayhuaman was quarried several kilometres away across uneven terrain. Some blocks weigh more than fully loaded modern trucks, yet no evidence of wheeled transport has been found, and the Inca did not use iron tools or draft animals capable of pulling such loads. Spanish observers in the 16th century described thousands of workers hauling stones with ropes, ramps, and coordinated force, but even these accounts struggle to explain how such massive pieces were moved without fracturing or losing precise shaping. The layout of the complex adds further complexity to the mystery, as the walls are not simply defensive but carefully oriented within the surrounding landscape. The zigzag pattern creates alternating angles that may have served to dissipate force during attacks or seismic activity, but the exact reasoning remains debated. Above the terraces once stood towers, ceremonial plazas, and internal structures that aligned with important routes into Cusco. Archaeological evidence suggests that Sacsayhuaman functioned not only as a fortress, but as a ceremonial and administrative centre, tied closely to the Inca capital below. What often escapes immediate notice is the way Sacsayhuaman appears to mirror symbolic forms described in early colonial sources, particularly the belief that Cusco itself was laid out in the shape of a puma. In this interpretation, Sacsayhuaman occupied the position of the animal's head, with the zigzag walls representing its teeth, an idea recorded by chroniclers such as Pedro Cieza de Leon. While symbolic readings remain debated, archaeological mapping confirms that the site's orientation and contours align deliberately with the urban plan below, suggesting the builders integrated geometry, landscape, and meaning into a single, precisely executed design rather than constructing a purely military installation. Historical records confirm that Sacsayhuaman played a critical role during the Spanish conquest, particularly in 1536, when Inca forces led by Manco Inca used the complex as a stronghold during their siege of Cusco. Spanish chroniclers described the walls as nearly impregnable, and only heavy casualties and internal betrayal allowed the site to fall. Even after partial destruction by colonial authorities, who dismantled upper structures to reuse stone in Cusco, the remaining walls endured with little structural damage, reinforcing their reputation for near indestructibility. One of the most unsettling aspects of Sacsayhuaman is the absence of uniformity in its stonework despite its precision. No two blocks are shaped exactly alike, and yet each fits its neighbours with mathematical certainty. This suggests that the builders did not rely on standardised templates, but instead adjusted each stone individually, responding to its neighbours in a process that required constant measurement and reassessment. The time investment alone would have been enormous, pointing to a cultural priority that placed symbolic or functional importance on perfection itself. Some researchers propose that the stonework carried cosmological meaning, reflecting Inca concepts of harmony between the natural and human-made worlds. The walls appear to grow organically from the hillside, blending geology with architecture rather than imposing rigid geometry upon it. This approach contrasts sharply with later European masonry, where uniformity and straight lines dominate. At Sacsayhuaman, precision is hidden within irregularity, making the achievement easy to underestimate until examined closely. Despite decades of archaeological study, no consensus exists on the exact sequence of construction or the full extent of the original complex. Excavations suggest that parts of Sacsayhuaman may have been built over earlier foundations, possibly incorporating older structures whose origins remain unclear. Radiocarbon dating places most visible construction in the 15th century during the reigns of Pachacuti and his successors, yet oral traditions imply that the site held importance long before imperial expansion reached its peak. Weathering over centuries has softened some stone surfaces, but the joints remain astonishingly intact, resisting erosion and vegetation growth that would normally exploit even the smallest gaps. During earthquakes that have repeatedly damaged colonial buildings in Cusco, the walls of Sacsayhuaman have shifted almost imperceptibly, then settled back into place. This dynamic stability, achieved without modern calculations or materials, continues to challenge assumptions about pre-Columbian engineering limitations. Today, visitors walk along the terraces and place their fingers against the seams, testing for gaps that rarely exist, while guides repeat explanations passed down through generations. Yet no demonstration fully accounts for how such massive stones were shaped, transported, and assembled with such uncompromising accuracy. The structure stands exposed to sun, rain, and time, offering no inscriptions or instructions, only silent evidence of a method that was either lost or never fully understood by those who followed. As the light fades across the limestone walls and shadows deepen within the zigzag corridors, Sacsayhuaman remains fixed in place, guarding its unanswered questions with stones that still refuse to reveal how they were ever persuaded to fit together so perfectly. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. Across the exposed limestone plateau west of the Nile, the land appears deliberately flattened, as though prepared for something that was never meant to drift, tilt, or erode into approximation. Wind moves freely here, lifting fine sand across bedrock that has been shaped by human intent rather than chance. The plateau offers little shelter and few visual anchors, making any deviation immediately visible. Within this controlled emptiness stands the Great Pyramid of Giza, a structure whose presence feels less like a relic of the past and more like a fixed measurement imposed permanently upon the landscape. Measured against the cardinal directions, the Great Pyramid's orientation reveals an accuracy so narrow that its deviation from true north is recorded in fractions of a single degree. Modern surveys confirm that its alignment is more precise than that of many contemporary buildings constructed with satellite guidance. This precision becomes more unsettling when placed in historical context, because the builders had no magnetic compasses, no optical lenses, and no surviving measuring instruments capable of such refinement. Whatever method guided the alignment had to be repeatable, exact, and resistant to compounding error across an immense area. Beneath the visible courses of stone lies a foundation levelled so carefully that its base varies by only a few centimetres across a span exceeding 200 metres. This was achieved directly on bedrock, not through adjustable platforms or poured materials. Archaeologists have suggested that water-filled trenches may have served as levelling references, yet this explanation still demands extraordinary discipline and consistency. Maintaining such uniformity across uneven terrain would have required constant verification, careful correction, and a shared standard understood by every team involved in the work. Layer by layer, more than 2 million stone blocks were placed in repeating succession, without allowing small inaccuracies to accumulate into visible distortion. Each course remains remarkably straight when viewed along its length, even where erosion has exposed internal layers. The blocks themselves vary in size and mass, yet the pyramid's geometry holds steady from base to summit. Any deviation early in construction would have magnified with height, yet the sides converge cleanly, suggesting an internal system that enforced precision at every stage. Equally unsettling is the evidence that the pyramid's dimensions reflect consistent units of measurement maintained across its entire form. Studies of casing stone remnants and core masonry suggest the builders used a standardized cubit length with remarkable internal consistency, despite working across vast distances and long periods of time. The pyramid's perimeter and height show proportional relationships that repeat with minimal deviation, implying that measurement was not approximate but rigorously controlled. Maintaining such uniformity would have required constant calibration of tools and methods, raising questions about how accuracy was preserved without metal rulers, written specifications, or centralized plans. Inside the structure, narrow corridors rise and descend at fixed angles that were determined long before the pyramid reached its full height. The ascending passage, the grand gallery, and the chambers above were locked into place early, meaning their alignment could not be adjusted later without dismantling enormous sections of stone. These passages maintained straightness and gradient with striking accuracy despite being sealed within millions of tons of masonry. Once enclosed, there would have been no external reference points to correct errors, making their precision even harder to explain. The decision to incorporate dense granite deep within the pyramid introduces a challenge that contrasts sharply with the limestone used elsewhere. Granite, quarried near Aswan hundreds of kilometers to the south, is far harder than limestone and resistant to shaping with copper tools. Yet massive granite beams weighing dozens of tons were cut, transported, and set above the king's chamber with exact placement. Their purpose was structural, redirecting weight away from the chamber below, indicating a clear understanding of load distribution and long-term stress. No surviving plans, diagrams, or written instructions explain how such consistent accuracy was coordinated across decades of construction. Old Kingdom Egypt left behind inscriptions, reliefs, and administrative records, yet nothing resembling architectural blueprints has been found for the pyramid. This absence forces modern researchers to reconstruct methods solely from physical evidence. The finished structure becomes the only surviving record of the process, offering results without explanation, precision without commentary, and complexity without instructions. Spanning a time frame measured in generations rather than years, the construction maintained exactness without the gradual decline commonly seen in long-term projects. Labour forces likely changed, overseers were replaced, and political conditions shifted, yet the pyramid's geometry never wavered. This continuity suggests that precision was not dependent on a single master builder, but embedded within standardized procedures. Such procedures would have required training, verification, and shared reference systems that left little room for improvisation. Above the plateau, the sky becomes part of the structure's geometry, as certain edges and passages align with predictable celestial movements. While speculative theories often exaggerate these connections, verifiable data shows intentional astronomical observation. Aligning a structure so precisely to the Earth's axis requires repeated measurements across seasons, accounting for stellar motion without written tables or magnification. The builders appear to have used the heavens as a stable reference, anchoring stone to sky with remarkable consistency. Compared to neighbouring pyramids at Giza and elsewhere in Egypt, this structure exhibits a level of precision that was never fully replicated. Earlier pyramids reveal experimentation, structural failures, and visible corrections, while later pyramids show reduced scale and accuracy. The Great Pyramid stands apart as a peak rather than a culmination, suggesting that a specific combination of knowledge, resources, and organisation briefly aligned. Afterward, that alignment was never achieved again in quite the same way. Modern instruments have refined measurements of the pyramid to astonishing levels of detail, yet each increase in accuracy has only deepened the mystery. Laser scanning, satellite mapping, and internal surveys have confirmed the consistency of its geometry while revealing subtle anomalies still under investigation. Rather than resolving long-standing questions, modern technology has emphasized how much remains uncertain, showing that the structure resists simple explanations even under sustained scientific scrutiny. What endures is not only the mass of stone, but the sense that the pyramid continues to assert an order that no longer has a clear origin. It does not advertise how it was built or why its accuracy mattered so deeply, only that its precision has survived thousands of years of erosion, removal, and analysis without diminishing. The pyramid remains intact not just physically, but conceptually, standing as evidence of a system that has outlasted the knowledge that created it. Even after centuries of measurement and debate, the Great Pyramid remains less like a monument left behind than a calculation still waiting for someone to fully understand what it was meant to prove. Baalbek's Trilithon, Lebanon. A quiet weight seems to press down across the Bekaa Valley, the air thick with dust and the midday sun, as if the earth itself struggles to support something immense. Shadows stretch across the plateau, broken only by enormous blocks whose scale resists comprehension. Among them, the Trilithon rises, 3 limestone monoliths placed side by side, each so massive it seems almost unwilling to stand. Their presence dominates the Temple of Jupiter, hinting at construction that defies both gravity and expectation. Even the breeze feels tempered, carrying whispers of labour and method lost to time. The size of each Trilithon block is staggering, hundreds of tons resting in deliberate alignment, their weight compressing the ground and neighbouring stones alike. Despite this, the blocks are positioned with astonishing regularity, their edges almost imperceptibly parallel and level. Measuring them against familiar dimensions only deepens the unease, as human intuition struggles to reconcile scale with control. Every angle, every seam suggests careful calculation, as if the builders anticipated the challenges of physics centuries before modern science could define them. Even from a distance, the Trilithon blocks convey both order and impossibility. Each massive stone fits alongside the next with seams so tight they're nearly invisible, suggesting careful adjustment or selection that took place before placement. The challenge was not only moving them, but positioning them with millimetre-level accuracy on a base already constructed. Their arrangement demonstrates intentionality at a scale that still confounds modern observers. Even the shadows cast along their faces create a sense of measured rhythm, as if the stones themselves are participating in a silent architectural choreography. While Roman engineers are often credited with the construction of the Temple of Jupiter, the techniques required to manage these blocks exceed what is fully documented for the period. Tools, levers, and manpower might explain smaller stones, yet the Trilithon demands methods that leave no trace. Contemporary engineers attempting to replicate the process find that moving a single block even a few meters strains the limits of human capability. The historical record confirms Roman oversight, but the engineering reality presses against the edge of plausibility, leaving modern researchers unsettled. The nearby quarry offers clues as well as more questions. Large, unfinished stones, including the so-called Stone of the Pregnant Woman, lie embedded in bedrock, partially separated but never transported. Their sheer size hints at intentions and ambitions that extended beyond ordinary construction. The proximity of the quarry to the site suggests a deliberate plan, yet the lack of evidence for ramps, rollers, or sledges leaves the transportation mystery unresolved. Each partially cut block seems frozen in anticipation, an incomplete testament to effort that was never fully realized. Extracting limestone blocks of such size without causing fractures required meticulous planning and careful tool work. Surfaces remain remarkably smooth and undamaged, indicating that the builders controlled cracks and stress with techniques that have vanished from history. Even slight errors could have rendered a block useless, yet the 3 stones of the trilithon appear flawless, as if each was handled with both patience and calculation far beyond standard practice. Every edge, corner and face carries a silent signature of skill that modern tools struggle to replicate. The limestone of each block carries the imprint of ancient seas, dense with fossilized marine organisms and mineral veins that give it remarkable strength yet unpredictable weight distribution. These natural variations would have required extraordinary attention with every lift and movement, as even slight miscalculations could fracture a stone of such scale. Moving these monoliths intact across the terrain meant navigating both the size and the subtle differences in density, a challenge the builders appear to have mastered without leaving written instructions. The trilithon's survival intact speaks to a sophisticated understanding of the stone itself that remains unexplained. The journey from quarry to temple presented another enormous challenge. Uneven terrain, elevation changes, and the sheer weight of the stones demanded precise coordination. Any slip could have shattered a block, yet they arrived intact and aligned perfectly with pre-existing masonry. Tracks or ramps that might have guided them have largely disappeared, leaving only the stones themselves as evidence. Their presence stands as a quiet testament to human effort that seems almost deliberately hidden, forcing observers to confront the mystery directly, with no intermediary explanation. Lifting and positioning each trilithon block atop the retaining wall required control over vertical movement that remains unexplained. The final placement, high above ground, aligns perfectly with the lower structure, leaving no visible traces of lifting devices or scaffolding. Archaeological evidence preserves only the completed result, leaving questions of method open to speculation. The tension between visible achievement and invisible technique gives the stones a commanding presence, as though they are less objects of construction than proofs of impossible mastery. The decision to use stones of such extreme mass, when smaller blocks would have sufficed structurally, suggests a symbolic or ritual dimension embedded within the engineering. Their sheer scale communicates authority and permanence, yet without inscriptions, the purpose is inferred rather than documented. Each stone carries not only physical weight but cultural significance, silently proclaiming power, resilience and intent. Their size and placement are meant to impress, intimidate and endure, marking the builder's understanding of human perception as much as physical laws. The sheer presence of the trilithon dominates perception, forcing the observer to confront the scale and mass directly. Standing beneath the stones, it becomes immediately clear that every block embodies both weight and precision, challenging assumptions about what human hands could control. Each stone conveys tension and risk, as if the plateau itself holds its breath, reminding anyone nearby that the achievement is not merely construction, but an assertion of order over forces far larger than usual human experience. Even sunlight, casting elongated shadows, seems to struggle against their immensity. Modern engineers and archaeologists have attempted to model the construction process, calculating forces, slopes, and lifting requirements. Despite advances in simulation, reproducing the feat remains largely theoretical, requiring machinery and manpower far beyond what is evidenced at the site. Each attempt highlights how little we truly understand about the methods, reinforcing the sense that the trilithon operates beyond conventional comprehension. Technology clarifies the limits, but cannot fully bridge the gulf between possibility and achievement, leaving a lingering impression of wonder and disbelief. Ultimately, the trilithon blocks endure as a measure of human ambition pressed into stone, a physical limit where effort meets incomprehensible scale. Their presence is at once imposing and confounding, an unfinished answer that continues to dominate the plateau. Each massive stone preserves questions about technique, intent, and capability that remain unanswered millennia after their placement. Their silence is heavier than any inscription, and the shadow they cast stretches across the imagination as much as the valley. These monoliths do not merely testify to ancient effort, they mark a threshold where human skill meets the incomprehensible weight of the world itself. Pumapunku, Bolivia. Fragments of stone lie scattered across the high plateau, their edges unnaturally straight, surfaces unnervingly flat, as if some colossal hand had carefully arranged each piece before abandoning it. The remnants of Pumapunku stretch across the windswept plains, a field of geometric precision at odds with the rugged Andean terrain. Light glints off sharp corners and polished surfaces, drawing the eye along grooves and interlocking joints that hint at construction far beyond casual masonry. Even standing among the ruins, it is clear that every fragment once belonged to a larger, deliberate system whose full extent remains elusive. The andesite blocks themselves resist casual description, a rock so dense and hard that conventional tools should have struggled to leave even shallow marks. Yet every cut speaks of deliberate mastery. Scientists have measured the stone and confirmed its extreme durability, noting that even copper or bronze implements known to the Tiwanaku culture would have required extraordinary effort to achieve such results. Each block appears to have been worked to an exact dimension, a feat that continues to baffle geologists and archaeologists who attempt to replicate the precision without modern machinery. Corners and angles intersect with geometric exactness, forming right-angled joins that defy expectation and suggest a level of measurement and calculation far beyond what surviving artifacts can explain. Surveyors visiting the site report deviations of less than a millimetre across massive surfaces, a consistency rarely seen even in modern construction. Some blocks are beveled, others precisely angled to interlock with multiple adjoining stones, producing assemblies that function as a single rigid structure despite their fragmented state. The interplay of mathematics, geometry, and engineering is undeniable, yet its origin remains a puzzle. The surfaces of many stones display a level of milling and flattening that seems almost impossible given the known tools of the Tiwanaku culture. Archaeologists have noted perfectly planar surfaces, consistent thicknesses and grooves cut at precise depths, suggesting techniques capable of producing uniformity on a scale rarely seen in pre-Columbian architecture. Some stones even exhibit tiny chisel marks arranged in meticulous patterns, hinting at a methodical approach to shaping and smoothing. This meticulous attention to surface detail implies knowledge of stoneworking physics and measurement standards that has no surviving documentation, leaving the techniques employed as enigmatic as the structures themselves. Grooves and interlocking joints carve the stones into a complex puzzle, each tongue and groove connection designed to hold multiple massive blocks together with astonishing tolerance. Archaeologists studying the assembly note that even slight variations would prevent the blocks from seating fully, suggesting an unseen standard of measurement or a method of adjustment lost to time. These joints demonstrate foresight and skill. They are not mere masonry, but an integrated system of locking mechanisms, allowing massive stones to fit tightly without mortar. Every groove is both functional and precise, hinting at the advanced engineering knowledge of the builders. Patterns emerge across platforms, repeating with modular consistency that hints at careful planning and a standardized system, even though the overall layout is now fragmented and incomplete. Stones that appear isolated when viewed from ground level align perfectly when examined as part of larger sections, forming geometric arrays that extend for hundreds of meters. This repetition suggests that the builders conceived Pumapunku as a network of interrelated components rather than discrete stones, creating a monument that functions both structurally and aesthetically. The level of forethought implied by such uniformity remains astonishing. Moving these stones from their source to the site would have demanded extraordinary care, as any vibration or imbalance could have marred the precision that still defines each cut. Many of the blocks weigh several tons, yet they retain sharp edges and smooth surfaces, indicating that transportation methods preserved their form. While ramps, sledges, and manpower could explain basic movement, the requirement to maintain millimeter-level precision during lifting, lowering, and placement introduces a new layer of complexity. Observers can measure the stones today and still struggle to envision the exact techniques used. Once positioned, the platforms exhibit a near-perfect horizontal alignment, their surfaces parallel across hundreds of meters despite uneven terrain and the primitive leveling methods known to have existed at the time. Subtle inclines, depressions, and natural irregularities were compensated for with care, suggesting that the builders understood how to transfer and maintain precise orientation across irregular landforms. The result is a visually cohesive arrangement that appears almost engineered for permanence, a spatial choreography that emphasizes both order and durability, despite centuries of neglect and exposure. Cylindrical drill holes penetrate the rock with uniform depth and diameter, a testament to techniques that leave modern engineers questioning the tools and methods available to the builders. Some holes are perfectly straight, while others intersect at calculated angles, implying knowledge of both spatial geometry and applied force. The precision of these drills is particularly confounding given the tools presumed to have been available, as no surviving implements match the quality required to achieve such results. Each hole serves as a subtle marker of technique, a silent clue to methods we may never fully reconstruct. Weathering and erosion have claimed their share of surfaces, yet the majority of cuts remain sharp, corners intact, and grooves remarkably straight, preserving evidence of a precision that has endured centuries. The stone seems almost impervious to the natural forces that have fractured and displaced many other structures of comparable age. Even in areas where rain and wind have left visible scars, the underlying craftsmanship is unmistakable. These enduring features offer tangible proof of both the builder's skill and the extraordinary quality of their construction methods. Some blocks appear deliberately disassembled, while others are toppled or broken, leaving questions of whether Pumapunku was unfinished, destroyed, or dismantled as part of a ritual process. Archaeological surveys reveal patterns that suggest intentional removal or rearrangement, rather than random collapse. The fragments are not scattered chaotically. Their positions hint at design, modification, or even ceremonial activity. This ambiguity adds to the site's mystery, blurring the line between construction, destruction, and human intention over the millennia. The meticulous craftsmanship reveals not only skill, but also an understanding of spatial reasoning, material properties, and geometry that continues to challenge contemporary interpretation. Researchers studying Pumapunku repeatedly encounter techniques that seem inexplicable within the context of Tiwanaku culture alone, suggesting either undocumented methods or knowledge lost entirely. Every angle, groove, and interlocking joint tells a story of expertise and planning that is rarely matched elsewhere in pre-Columbian architecture, leaving open the question of how such mastery was achieved. Standing among the fragments, it is impossible to ignore the sense that Pumapunku was designed as a coherent system, a precise monument whose methods and intentions have largely disappeared into the high-altitude air. The scattered blocks, once unified, convey both ingenuity and frustration, inviting observers to reconstruct their arrangement mentally while acknowledging the limits of our understanding. Even the smallest stone evokes awe, demonstrating that precision and intent persist even in ruin. Pumapunku is a place where every observation carries weight, and every measurement provokes new questions. Each stone remains a silent testament, suggesting knowledge and technique that may be forever beyond human reconstruction. Gobekli Tepe, Turkey. Dust swirls across the hilltop, revealing partially unearthed circles of stone that rise like silent sentinels, their presence both imposing and inexplicably deliberate. The plateau stretches endlessly into the Anatolian horizon, dotted with partially excavated enclosures that jut from the earth like frozen echoes of a long-forgotten civilization. Archaeologists move carefully among the formations, brushing away layers of sediment to reveal pillars whose geometric arrangement suggests extraordinary forethought. Even the smallest fragments seem purposeful, as if each stone carries an intentional mark. The wind carries a cold, thin air across the hill, adding to the sense that this was a place set apart, shaped by hands that understood both material and ritual with uncanny precision. Massive T-shaped pillars loom within each enclosure, carved from limestone with proportions and symmetry that suggest an intimate understanding of geometry and balance. Standing over 5 meters tall, some pillars are almost impossibly straight, their surfaces polished in a way that catches the sunlight at just the right angle to reveal subtle chisel marks. Smaller pillars flank them, forming concentric arrangements that seem simultaneously decorative, structural, and symbolic. Their uniformity and consistency indicate a level of planning that must have involved detailed observation and measurement. Even partially buried pillars reveal faces meticulously shaped to accommodate other stones, highlighting construction techniques far beyond what hunter-gatherer societies are assumed to have mastered at the time. Animals, abstract symbols, and humanoid motifs emerge from the stone faces, each relief etched with a clarity that implies careful measurement and unexpected skill. Foxes, snakes, birds, and unknown creatures curl across pillars in stylized forms, some rising in almost three-dimensional relief that suggests motion frozen in stone. Human-like arms, hands and torsos appear, sometimes merged with animals, implying symbolic meaning or ritual significance. The precision of these carvings is striking, as is the consistency of patterning across multiple enclosures. Even where weathering has partially eroded the surface, the outlines remain clear enough to convey an intentional design, hinting at a symbolic or spiritual system encoded into the stones themselves. The circular arrangements of pillars form repeating patterns that hint at deliberate organization, as though each structure were part of a coordinated blueprint across the plateau. Larger enclosures contain dozens of pillars arrayed in concentric circles, with spacing that maintains symmetry and rhythm, while smaller enclosures echo the same geometric language on a reduced scale. Archaeologists have mapped these patterns meticulously, noting alignments, radii, and spacing that suggest careful measurement over large distances. The consistent repetition of design elements raises questions about the cognitive and organizational capabilities of the builders. Each circle, though excavated separately, seems to connect with adjacent enclosures through invisible planning lines etched into the topography by hands long gone. Transporting the pillars, some weighing multiple tons, required moving them over uneven slopes and rocky terrain, a feat remarkable for a culture without metal tools or draft animals. Quarries believed to be kilometers away provided the limestone, which had to be extracted, shaped and dragged across hillsides using only rudimentary tools. Archaeological evidence suggests ramps, levers and rolling techniques may have been employed, yet even modern engineers struggle to reproduce such precision under similar conditions. The stone's current arrangement suggests care was taken to maintain their orientation and avoid chipping corners. This process would have demanded coordinated labour, planning and a deep understanding of both stone properties and the forces involved in transportation and placement. Each pillar is seated in a prepared base or socket with remarkable precision, ensuring vertical stability and level alignment that resists centuries of erosion and seismic activity. These bases were carved into bedrock or compacted soil with care, creating depressions that cradle the stone's base perfectly. Slight inclines or irregularities were compensated for, with levelling techniques that remain unknown. The pillars stand upright even after millennia, surviving earthquakes, freeze-thaw cycles and erosion. Some pillars display subtle variations in width or taper, suggesting the builders adjusted for weight distribution and balance. The enduring stability of these structures testifies to both sophisticated material understanding and meticulous craftsmanship. The positioning of enclosures relative to one another suggests intentional spatial relationships, perhaps aligned to the stars, seasonal markers, or ritual pathways yet to be fully understood. Certain pillars appear oriented along cardinal points or towards solstice events, though definitive proof remains elusive. The plateau itself seems to have been surveyed and measured with precision, as the enclosures form a network of interrelated structures rather than isolated constructions. The spatial rhythm of the site evokes a ceremonial choreography, perhaps guiding movement or sightlines for participants in rituals. Such alignment, combined with geometric precision, indicates a level of abstract reasoning and planning that challenges assumptions about societies of the pre-agricultural era. Close examination reveals tool marks consistent across multiple stones, hinting at standardized techniques and an unexpected mastery of hard limestone with only stone or bone implements. Chisel grooves, polished flat surfaces, and cylindrical impressions appear in repeating patterns, suggesting methods that were replicated across enclosures. These marks indicate careful control of depth, angle, and pressure, demonstrating knowledge of both stone behavior and applied physics. The consistency implies not only skill but instruction, coordination, and a shared understanding among laborers. Modern attempts to reproduce these techniques using contemporary experimental archaeology reveal how extraordinary and rare such precision is without metal tools. Dating to nearly 11,000 years ago, the scale of labor and coordination implied by the construction challenges conventional assumptions about hunter-gatherer societies of the period. At a time when permanent settlements, writing, and metallurgy were non-existent, the effort required to quarry, shape, transport, and erect these pillars is staggering. Tens or hundreds of people would have been needed over many years to complete even one enclosure. Yet the coordination, planning, and execution evident in the site imply social structures and organizational capacity that exceed traditional models for nomadic or semi-nomadic populations. Gobekli Tepe forces a re-evaluation of what prehistoric humans were capable of achieving. The carvings and arrangement of pillars suggest not mere architecture, but an early form of ritual space, where precision and symbolism intersect to convey meaning lost to time. Enclosures may have functioned as ceremonial centres for gatherings, feasts, or rites of passage, though their exact purpose remains speculative. The repetition of motifs and the alignment of stones suggest deliberate choreography, guiding attention, movement, or observation. Even absent written language, the spatial layout communicates social or spiritual significance, with each pillar acting as both a structural element and symbolic marker. The design conveys intentionality, foresight, and cultural expression encoded in stone. Evidence of deliberate backfilling and unfinished sections indicates that portions of the site were intentionally preserved or concealed, leaving a cryptic record for posterity. Layers of sediment appear to have been carefully replaced atop completed enclosures, protecting carvings from weathering while concealing certain patterns. Archaeologists note that some pillars were intentionally toppled or left in situ, suggesting ritual closure or preservation of sacred arrangements. These interventions preserve an enigmatic record, forcing observers to reconstruct sequences and methods from incomplete evidence. Such decisions hint at conceptual and symbolic thinking, demonstrating not just construction skill but a sophisticated awareness of legacy and memory. Walking among the pillars, one senses a deliberate intelligence, a meticulous hand shaping both form and space. Yet the people who conceived it remain a profound mystery. Every carving, placement, and alignment embodies abstract reasoning, social cooperation, and technical skill, yet leaves no written explanation. The plateau itself feels alive with intention, as if every stone, every circle, every carving were designed to communicate something just beyond comprehension. Even when measured, photographed, and mapped, the site retains an aura of the unknown, inviting reflection on the knowledge and imagination of its builders. The stones whisper of an intelligence that predates written history, yet the minds that shaped them remain forever unknown. Stonehenge, England. Even at a distance, the massive stones of Stonehenge command attention, their precise arrangement and upright stature revealing a deliberate intelligence that has puzzled observers for millennia. Visitors approaching the monument cannot ignore the symmetry and scale. The stones rise in carefully measured intervals, forming concentric circles that feel both architectural and symbolic. The sense of order is impossible to overlook, as if some ancient hand had dictated not only placement but purpose. Archaeologists marvel at the careful selection of each stone, recognizing that the monument embodies both monumental labor and a hidden understanding of alignment, measurement, and human effort. The sarsen's and bluestones differ not only in size but origin, with some quarried locally from the Marlborough Downs and others transported over hundreds of kilometres from the Preseli Hills of Wales. Sarsen's massive sandstone blocks weighing up to 30 tonnes form the iconic outer circle, while bluestones of varied composition and colour fill the inner rings. Their juxtaposition creates a deliberate contrast in texture and appearance. Geologists confirm that the bluestones are rare and not naturally occurring in the vicinity, suggesting that their selection held not only practical but possibly symbolic significance, a testament to prehistoric knowledge and intention. Moving these colossal stones required ingenuity and coordination, yet the methods, likely involving sledges, ropes and timber, cannot fully account for the precision of their final placement. Experimental archaeology demonstrates that even modestly sized sarsens are difficult to transport across short distances, making the achievement of moving them from Wales or across uneven terrain remarkable. The journey would have demanded planning, communal effort, and extraordinary persistence. How prehistoric people managed gradients, rivers, and muddy plains without modern engineering is still debated. Each transported stone represents a monumental feat of coordination, patience, and ingenuity that modern observers can scarcely imagine. When erected, the uprights and lintels were levelled and fitted with mortise and tenon joints, their stability enduring millennia despite wind, rain, and ground shifts. Stonemasons today note that the precision is extraordinary. The lintels sit flush atop uprights, corners aligned, and surfaces smoothed for optimal contact. Subtle tapering ensures balance, while the stone's weight distribution allows them to withstand centuries of frost, rainfall, and soil movement. Even minor misalignment would have caused structural instability, yet Stonehenge has endured largely intact. This deliberate attention to engineering reveals not only skill, but careful observation of materials, gravity, and long-term durability in a prehistoric context. During the summer solstice, sunlight passes through the carefully aligned stones, illuminating specific points that suggest ancient knowledge of celestial cycles and deliberate observational planning. The rising sun aligns with the heel stone and the centre of the outer sarsen circle, creating shadows and beams that mark the longest day of the year. Some scholars propose that Stonehenge functioned as a calendar or observatory, its alignment facilitating the tracking of seasons, agricultural cycles, or ritual timings. The precision of these alignments implies repeated observation and measurement over generations, combining technical mastery with astronomical understanding that was remarkably sophisticated for a society without written language. Stonehenge was constructed over multiple phases, each addition reflecting experimentation and refinement, leaving behind a layered record of prehistoric adaptation and evolving design. Early wooden posts and pits preceded the massive sarsens, while successive construction phases adjusted layout, incorporated additional stones, and improved orientation. Radiocarbon dating confirms activities spanning over a millennium, suggesting continuity of knowledge and purpose among communities. The phased construction highlights adaptability and iterative problem-solving, as builders refined techniques for moving and erecting massive stones while maintaining alignment and symmetry across generations. The lintels and upright stones interlock with remarkable balance, demonstrating technical skill in distributing weight and maintaining alignment without modern tools or machinery. Mortise and tenon joints secure lintels to uprights, and careful shaping of stone surfaces ensures even weight distribution. Archaeological analysis shows that precision was achieved through trial, error, and refinement, likely guided by careful observation and measurement rather than written plans. Each stone's placement required understanding of physics, leverage, and material behavior, demonstrating a combination of intuition, experience, and ingenuity that allowed prehistoric builders to achieve enduring stability. Beyond the stone circle, avenues, barrows, and smaller monuments hint at a broader spatial concept, suggesting ritual, ceremonial, or symbolic integration across the surrounding landscape. The Stonehenge Avenue, aligned with the solstice sunrise, connects the monument to nearby rivers and earthworks. Burial mounds and circular enclosures further extend the site's reach, creating a complex landscape network that likely influenced movement, ritual activity, or visual perception. Stonehenge was never an isolated construction. Its placement and orientation demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of context, emphasizing interaction between monument terrain and human behavior across a prehistoric horizon. The distant bluestones, transported from Wales, carry not only immense logistical significance, but also potential cultural or spiritual meaning, their selection hinting at an understanding of material beyond the local environment. Their varied composition, spotted dolerite, rhyolite, and tuff, may have held symbolic weight, with each type chosen deliberately. The act of transporting these stones over hundreds of kilometers imbued them with ritual significance, a deliberate human effort that transformed raw stone into a cultural artifact. The bluestone's origin and journey reflect not just technical ambition, but a deliberate connection between landscape, people, and belief. Coordinating the workforce to quarry, transport, and erect these stones demanded advanced social organization, communication, and planning over generations, long before written language existed. Estimates suggest hundreds, if not thousands, of people were involved, including planners, laborers, and ritual specialists. Skills had to be transferred orally, with techniques maintained across time to achieve alignment, placement, and stability. Such social coordination demonstrates leadership, collaboration, and shared cultural values. Each stone erected represents not only technical achievement but also human cooperation on a scale that defies modern expectations for prehistoric communities. The monument's alignment and arrangement suggest multiple possible functions, from ceremonial gatherings to astronomical observation, leaving interpretations open but confirming a level of sophistication that continues to intrigue. Seasonal rites, funerary ceremonies, and symbolic rituals may all have occurred here, indicated by cremated remains, artifacts, and landscape context. Despite decades of study, no single explanation satisfies all evidence, and each new discovery raises more questions. Stonehenge embodies a confluence of architecture, astronomy, ritual, and social organisation, leaving a tantalising mystery that continues to defy straightforward interpretation. Standing among the stones, one senses a precise intelligence behind every placement and angle, yet the people who orchestrated this monumental construction have left only silence and stone. The scale, weight, alignment, and celestial precision suggest a depth of knowledge and observation that appears almost impossible for the Neolithic era. Visitors today can measure, map, and photograph, yet the original builders' methods remain elusive. Each stone is a testament to human ambition and capability, but the reasoning, ritual, and knowledge behind them remain suspended in time, inviting endless speculation. The hands that raised these stones and the knowledge that guided them remain hidden, their purpose echoing across millennia as an enduring enigma. Machu Picchu, Peru. Each stone of Machu Picchu fits with extraordinary precision, forming terraces, temples, and walls that seem sculpted to flow seamlessly with the mountain, defying expectations of what pre-industrial builders could achieve. Visitors are immediately struck by the harmony of construction. Massive stones cut to interlock perfectly, terraces that cascade downward in exact increments, and stairways that curve and slope with meticulous care. Every element seems purposeful, designed to withstand the steep Andean terrain and heavy seasonal rainfall. Archaeologists continue to marvel at how the Incas moved, shaped, and positioned each stone with such precision, creating a city that appears simultaneously natural and engineered. The terraces serve a dual purpose: cultivating crops while stabilizing steep slopes, their design carefully balancing agriculture with engineering foresight in a seismic region. Each level functions as a miniature retaining wall, filled with layers of stone, gravel, and soil to absorb water and prevent landslides. The drainage is so efficient that even during heavy rainfall, erosion is minimal, preserving centuries-old construction. Terracing also demonstrates deep understanding of microclimates, enabling the cultivation of diverse crops at different elevations. These terraces are not merely functional, they reflect a harmony of aesthetics, engineering, and environmental knowledge that few civilizations have achieved anywhere in the world. Stone blocks interlock without mortar, their trapezoidal shapes and angled joints absorbing tremors and remaining intact centuries after their placement. Builders shaped granite blocks to fit one another with astonishing accuracy, often carving irregular shapes to maximize contact and stability. The walls lean slightly inward, a technique that enhances earthquake resistance, and each stone's weight is distributed carefully across its neighbours. Despite centuries of seismic activity in the region, the walls of temples, residences, and terraces remain remarkably stable, a testament to both trial and error ingenuity and sophisticated understanding of stone properties and structural engineering that still puzzles modern architects. Rainwater courses through aqueducts, channels, and fountains, guided by subtle gradients that prevent flooding while sustaining the city's complex ecosystem. The water system includes over 40 fountains and an extensive network of underground drains, carefully aligned to ensure constant flow even during intense storms. Some channels are carved directly into the bedrock, while others use layered stones to maintain structural integrity. This sophisticated approach allowed the city to thrive despite its precarious mountaintop location. Engineers had to anticipate erosion, water pressure, and slope dynamics, all without modern instruments, achieving a level of hydraulic precision that rivals contemporary techniques. Temples, plazas, and residential areas follow a deliberate layout, demonstrating intentional planning that aligns buildings with terrain, circulation, and functional use. Religious, administrative, and domestic spaces are clearly delineated, yet each flows naturally into the next, preserving harmony across the city. Narrow stairways connect terraces and sectors, while plazas provide open areas for gatherings or rituals. Archaeological studies suggest the layout reflects social hierarchy, environmental adaptation, and aesthetic principles simultaneously, indicating a culture that prioritized organization, observation, and engineering. Every placement seems deliberate, as if each building, stone, and path was measured to create both functional utility and spiritual resonance. The Temple of the Sun captures sunlight at solstices through precisely placed windows and walls, revealing a sophisticated understanding of astronomical cycles. During the June solstice, rays pass through a curved window and illuminate specific stones, marking seasonal changes crucial for agriculture and ceremonial timing. The circular walls, carved stones, and niches demonstrate intentional orientation, likely designed for both observation and ritual significance. The Temple of the Sun exemplifies the integration of astronomy and architecture, showing that the Incas could coordinate construction on a scale that reflected cosmic knowledge, blending celestial observation with stone precision in a way that continues to astonish researchers. At the site's heart, the Intihuatana stone functions as a solar marker and possibly a ritual focal point, its carvings precise and geometrically exact. Archaeologists suggest it may have tracked the sun's position throughout the year, serving as a calendar for agricultural and ceremonial purposes. Its angled surfaces and alignment with nearby peaks indicate careful surveying and measurement. The Intihuatana represents more than technical skill, it reflects cultural and spiritual integration, where astronomy, ritual, and construction merge. Its placement required both geometric knowledge and philosophical intent, revealing an intelligence capable of connecting human activity with seasonal cycles, mountain peaks, and celestial events. Stairways and narrow bridges navigate cliffs and terraces with geometric accuracy, blending practicality with aesthetic precision. Steps vary in height to match the contours of the terrain, and paths curve to accommodate both natural obstacles and human movement. Some bridges and connecting terraces rely solely on interlocking stonework for stability, a technique that has preserved functionality over centuries. This attention to movement within a challenging environment illustrates not only technical expertise, but a profound understanding of how inhabitants would interact with the landscape, balancing convenience, safety, and the visual rhythm of the city across steep inclines. Moving and shaping granite blocks in such rugged terrain demanded innovation, human coordination, and an extraordinary understanding of leverage and stonework. Stones were quarried nearby, then transported and fitted into place, with techniques that remain partially speculative. Ropes, ramps, levers, and sheer manpower likely played a role, yet the exact methods remain uncertain. The precision achieved in cutting and aligning blocks on uneven surfaces continues to amaze engineers today. Even minor miscalculations could have caused structural failure, yet the Incas consistently produced enduring results, demonstrating a level of logistical planning, collective effort, and craftsmanship that seems almost beyond human capability for the era. Sloped walls, interlocking stones, and drainage systems reveal advanced seismic engineering, allowing the city to endure earthquakes that would have leveled lesser constructions. Walls taper inwards slightly and lean into terraces to distribute force, while drainage channels prevent water accumulation that could destabilize slopes. The city's design anticipates natural hazards, combining form, function, and safety into a cohesive system. These innovations suggest a deep empirical understanding of environmental forces, grounded in observation, experimentation, and communal knowledge. Machu Picchu's resilience is a silent record of an architectural philosophy that respected both material limits and the unpredictable movements of the earth beneath it. The placement of terraces, temples, and pathways suggests ritual, ceremonial, and spiritual significance, aligning with sacred peaks and possibly reflecting Incan cosmology. Certain mountains, or apus, are framed within sightlines from specific plazas and temples, hinting at intentional sacred geography. Burial sites, ceremonial enclosures, and carved niches further reinforce the cultural importance of spatial relationships. Every architectural choice, from stone alignment to terrace orientation, appears to balance practical needs with symbolic meaning. The city becomes a living narrative, a space where human ingenuity, spirituality, and environmental adaptation converge in ways that remain partially unreadable to modern observers. As one wanders through Machu Picchu, the integration of stone, water, and terraces evokes meticulous intelligence, yet the techniques and intentions behind the city remain largely enigmatic. Stones are perfectly fitted, channels maintain constant flow, and terraces seem to anticipate environmental challenges, yet no written instructions survive. Every level and structure reflects observation, experimentation, and accumulated knowledge, revealing a culture deeply aware of both natural and human constraints. Despite centuries of study, archaeologists and engineers alike continue to speculate about the methods and purposes embedded within the city, leaving Machu Picchu shrouded in an aura of enduring mystery and wonder. Every wall, terrace and channel of Machu Picchu preserves the ingenuity of a civilization whose vision and knowledge remain tantalizingly beyond reach. The Temple of Kailasa, India. Carved entirely from a single rock face, the Temple of Kailasa stretches in vertical and horizontal scale that seems impossible to imagine, each hall, stairway and sanctuary emerging as if the mountain itself had been sculpted into form. Visitors are struck by the sheer audacity of its conception, an enormous monolith, transformed into a functional, aesthetic and spiritual space without ever adding a single stone. Reliefs and sculptures appear to grow naturally from the rock, yet their precision is deliberate, demanding a level of planning, measurement and craftsmanship that challenges comprehension. Archaeologists and engineers alike remain perplexed at how ancient artisans achieved such a monumental task. Thousands of tons of stone were removed from above and around the site, an undertaking that required not only brute labour, but careful sequencing to preserve the integrity of the rock and prevent catastrophic collapse. Excavation had to progress from the top downward, carving away what was unnecessary while leaving essential structural features untouched. The precision necessary to avoid fractures in the remaining monolith implies extraordinary surveying skills and intimate knowledge of the rock's properties. Even minor miscalculations could have destroyed entire sections, yet the temple stands complete, as though the builders possessed both divine insight and unmatched technical mastery. The exterior facade bristles with intricate sculptures, relief panels and towering statues, each cut with exacting detail that captures mythological scenes while maintaining the overall harmony of the monolithic surface. Elephants, deities, celestial beings and battle scenes fill every vertical surface, their proportions remarkably consistent despite the challenges of carving directly from rock. Every figure seems to emerge naturally from the cliff, yet the arrangement follows deliberate symmetry and visual rhythm, uniting artistic expression with structural necessity. The facade demonstrates a rare combination of imagination and discipline, suggesting a cultural vision that demanded perfection in both aesthetic and engineering terms. Inside, corridors wind between sanctums and chambers with proportions that reflect a careful spatial logic, where every passageway, ceiling height and niche contributes to both structural stability and aesthetic flow. Narrow halls open into expansive chambers, often crowned with intricately carved ceilings that maintain their balance despite the absence of added support. The interior layout guides movement naturally, suggesting that spatial experience was as important as function or decoration. Each room's orientation, dimensions and detailing seem carefully calibrated, combining architectural foresight with religious symbolism, inviting visitors into a progression that merges ritual, contemplation and technical marvel. Pillars rise from the rock floor with perfect alignment, supporting massive ceilings while demonstrating an advanced understanding of load distribution that continues to withstand centuries of environmental wear. Each column is sculpted from solid rock, shaped and polished to transmit weight efficiently without fracturing. The pillars are spaced to maintain both structural stability and visual harmony, with their carvings adding beauty while avoiding any compromise to function. Their proportions, angles and placement suggest a sophisticated comprehension of physics, one that required empirical observation and refined skill rather than trial and error alone, defying assumptions about the limitations of ancient technology. Carved narratives illustrate episodes from Hindu mythology, with deities, demons and celestial motifs rendered in stone so finely that every feature conveys emotion, movement and sacred symbolism. The carvings form a visual continuum, telling stories while reinforcing the sanctity of the space. Figures interact across reliefs, appearing almost alive with intricate attention to posture, facial expression and adornment. These narratives are not mere decoration. They guide viewers through moral, cosmological and spiritual teachings, embedding meaning directly into the architecture. Such a seamless integration of story, sculpture and structure is extraordinarily rare, especially in a single rock carved from top to bottom. Water channels and drainage grooves, subtly integrated into floors and terraces, manage rainfall with a foresight that preserves the temple from erosion and standing water, revealing the builder's meticulous engineering skills. Channels are carved into thresholds, courtyards and roofs, following precise gradients to direct flow without undermining pillars or walls. Rainwater is funneled safely away, preventing damage in a region prone to monsoons and heavy precipitation. These systems indicate a profound understanding of hydrology, geology, and long-term maintenance, suggesting the builders anticipated environmental challenges centuries in advance. The temple's preservation over time attests to their success in combining artistry with engineering foresight. The temple's orientation and design resonate with its spiritual purpose, aligning ceremonial spaces with symbolic axes and creating a visual and ritual journey for devotees that unfolds as they move through the complex. Entryways, courtyards, and sanctums are positioned to frame perspectives towards sacred imagery and sculptural focus points. Pilgrims moving through the temple experience a guided narrative, with each step revealing a carefully orchestrated visual and spiritual progression. This deliberate choreography of space, sightlines, and symbolic cues underscores the fusion of functional engineering with ceremonial intent, suggesting the builder's vision extended beyond construction into the realm of lived experience and devotion. Symmetry, proportion, and geometric precision dominate the temple's layout, where lines of sight and dimensional ratios were measured to create visual balance and a sense of monumental harmony. Even the spacing between pillars, the width of corridors, and the alignment of relief panels contribute to an underlying architectural order. Such coherence could only be achieved through meticulous planning, careful measurement, and an extraordinary sense of scale. The resulting structure feels both natural and intentional, conveying grandeur without chaos and precision without rigidity. Observers cannot help but notice how each element supports the whole, creating an experience that blends awe, reverence, and technical admiration. Speculation persists over the tools and techniques employed, from iron chisels to wooden scaffolding, yet no historical record provides a definitive explanation for how such a massive rock was sculpted with such accuracy. Scholars have proposed sequential carving, template-guided layouts, and geometric surveying, but none fully account for the scale, precision, and complexity of the work. The absence of documentation leaves an enduring mystery, as if the temple itself preserves the secrets of its creation. Every chisel mark, cut, and polished surface serves as a silent testament to an intelligence and dexterity that seems almost impossible without modern instruments. As later rock-cut temples arose across India, Kailasa's influence is unmistakable, setting a precedent for combining architectural daring with sculptural complexity in monolithic construction. Its techniques inspired generations of builders, yet none replicated the scale or precision of the original. The temple stands as a benchmark, a point of reference that continues to define excellence in rock-cut architecture. Scholars, pilgrims, and tourists alike recognize its cultural and artistic significance, but its construction remains a riddle, reminding us that human ingenuity can sometimes produce results that, even centuries later, defy complete understanding. Even after centuries, the temple's intricate halls, carved ceilings, and monumental figures exude an intelligence and craftsmanship that seem almost beyond human reach, leaving observers to ponder how it was achieved. The alignment of corridors, the flow of sculptures, and the structural resilience all reflect knowledge accumulated over time. Yet the methods, sequences, and labour organisation remain speculative. Archaeologists continue to study tool marks, debris, and carving patterns, but the temple resists a complete explanation. Every visitor senses the harmony of artistic vision, engineering mastery, and spiritual intent, a combination so rare that it still feels otherworldly. Every hall, pillar, and relief of the Temple of Kailasa preserves a vision and skill so extraordinary that it continues to challenge our understanding of what was possible in the ancient world. Nan Madol, Micronesia. On a lagoon dotted with over 90 small islets, Nan Madol rises as a city of stone, its massive basalt walls and platforms seemingly suspended between water and sky, challenging every expectation of what ancient engineers could achieve. The scale is staggering. Some walls rise over 20 feet and the platforms span dozens of meters, all constructed from basalt columns transported from quarries miles away. The city appears at once natural and impossibly ordered, its channels, plazas, and ceremonial structures arranged with precision. Observers are struck by both the engineering mastery and the eerie isolation of the site, suspended between land and sea. The transportation of colossal basalt columns from quarries located miles away presents a puzzle, as no evidence indicates the use of draft animals or wheeled vehicles, leaving the methods employed by the Sodalur builders shrouded in mystery. Scholars speculate that the stones were floated on rafts, rolled over logs, or maneuvered by massive teams using ropes, yet no definitive records survive. The effort required to move and position such enormous blocks over water would have been extraordinary, demanding not only strength but careful coordination, timing with tides, and profound understanding of the environment. Each block's placement remains a silent testament to ingenuity beyond contemporary expectations. Each islet was deliberately shaped and positioned, creating a network of platforms, dwellings, and ceremonial spaces that demonstrate careful planning despite the inherent instability of the lagoon environment. The builders carved channels to guide water flow, leveled surfaces for buildings, and aligned structures in a cohesive grid that suggests a unified vision. The pattern is both functional and symbolic. Residential areas cluster separately from ceremonial centers, yet everything is integrated into a network that allows movement, communication, and ritual processions. The precision of this arrangement speaks to not only technical skill, but also an advanced understanding of urban organization centuries before similar feats appeared elsewhere in the world. Basalt walls rise vertically from coral foundations with interlocking precision, some standing over 20 feet tall, maintaining stability against tides, storms, and the natural shifting of sand and rock beneath them. Each block was carefully shaped to fit without mortar, creating a durable interlocking system that resists erosion and the stresses of the lagoon's shifting waters. The wall's construction suggests knowledge of weight distribution, balance, and compression, skills that modern engineers study with admiration. Even minor misalignment could have compromised the integrity of the entire structure, yet the builders achieved near-perfect stability. The precision of these walls continues to confound researchers, as their construction defies easy explanation. A series of narrow canals thread between the islets, serving both practical and ceremonial functions, allowing canoes to traverse the city while providing drainage and mitigating the impact of high tides. These waterways connect residential and ritual spaces, creating a labyrinthine network that supports daily life and ceremonial movement alike. The canals are engineered with subtle gradients to prevent flooding, demonstrating an understanding of hydrodynamics and tidal behavior. Moving through the city by water would have been efficient, elegant, and even awe-inspiring, as visitors navigated narrow channels framed by towering stone walls, combining practicality with the theatricality of controlled space. Residential areas and elite compounds reveal hierarchical organization, with certain islets clearly designated for ruling families, religious leaders, or ritual ceremonies, each carefully integrated into the urban layout. Excavations have uncovered remains of dwellings, hearths, and storage areas, suggesting daily life for both commoners and elites. Elevated platforms and ceremonial structures emphasize authority and sacred function, while spatial separation maintains both privacy and order. The meticulous planning of these spaces implies centralized control and sophisticated social organization, highlighting that Nan Madol was more than a collection of stone. It was a functioning city with political, religious, and economic dimensions carefully inscribed in its very layout. The foundations of many islets consist of layered coral and sand, ingeniously arranged to absorb tidal fluctuations while providing the necessary support for massive stone platforms above. Builders stacked coral in specific patterns to prevent shifting and used sand as a cushioning material, ensuring that the heavy basalt blocks remained stable over centuries. This approach demonstrates a deep understanding of geology and tidal mechanics, suggesting that the Sudalur engineers had both empirical observation and practical experience in manipulating natural materials. The result is a network of artificial islands that resists erosion, even under the relentless action of ocean waves and seasonal storms. Basalt columns, some weighing dozens of tons, were shaped and fitted with remarkable precision, their surfaces smoothed and edges aligned without the use of mortar, illustrating extraordinary craftsmanship and technical understanding. Marks left on the stones reveal careful chiseling techniques and a mastery of weight distribution. Some columns were tapered to allow them to interlock, while others were carved to support overhanging structures. The precision required to achieve this, particularly over water and on uneven foundations, is staggering. Each placement reflects both an artistic sensibility and practical engineering, merging functionality with a visual coherence that reinforces the impression of a city deliberately designed. rather than haphazardly assembled. Speculation persists regarding the city's orientation, with some evidence suggesting alignments related to tides, prevailing winds, or astronomical markers that may have guided ceremonial timing or navigation. Certain channels and walls align with sunrise and sunset points during solstices, while other features appear positioned to maximize access and movement through the lagoon. This hints at a deliberate integration of environmental, ceremonial, and functional concerns, demonstrating that the city was conceived not only as a settlement, but as a system responding to both nature and human ritual. The interplay between practicality and symbolism adds layers of intrigue to its already enigmatic construction. The Sodelur dynasty, which ruled the city for centuries, left behind traces of a complex social structure, reinforced by the careful separation of political, residential, and ritual zones within the artificial islands. The rulers consolidated power through both monumental architecture and ritual control, with the placement of sacred temples and elite compounds emphasizing authority and social hierarchy. Archaeological evidence suggests that the city's layout was a physical manifestation of political power, combining aesthetic control, strategic positioning, and ritual symbolism. These structures communicate messages about hierarchy, governance, and divine sanction, providing insight into a civilization that integrated engineering, politics, and culture with remarkable sophistication. Despite its ingenuity, the city was eventually abandoned, leaving behind partially sunken walls and collapsed platforms, creating an eerie tableau where human ambition meets the relentless forces of nature. The reasons for abandonment remain unclear, though environmental changes, political upheaval, and resource constraints likely played a role. Today, moss-covered basalt walls rise above the lagoon, partially submerged, offering a haunting reminder of the city's grandeur. The ruins exude silence and isolation, yet the complexity and scale of the structures continue to speak of a civilization that achieved what many consider impossible, leaving modern visitors to confront the enduring enigma of its construction. Today, Nan Madol remains a labyrinth of basalt and coral, a testament to precise engineering and urban design that seems almost impossible to replicate even with modern technology. Scholars and engineers marvel at the precision of the walls, the balance of the islets, and the sophistication of the water management systems. Canoes navigating the channels provide a visceral sense of scale, allowing one to imagine the immense effort required to move stones, carve foundations, and shape dwellings with such accuracy. Despite centuries of exposure to the ocean and climate, the city preserves a level of planning, craftsmanship, and ingenuity that continues to inspire awe and speculation. The ruins of Nan Madol whisper of a civilization that manipulated stone, water, and imagination with a mastery that continues to elude understanding. The Osirion at Abydos, Egypt. Descending into the Osirion, the weight of massive stone blocks presses around every corner, forming a labyrinthine subterranean chamber that feels both deliberate and forbidding, as if the earth itself was carved to conceal secrets. Unlike the pyramids that dominate the horizon, this hidden structure sits quietly beneath the sands of Abydos, mostly invisible to casual observers. The massive ceiling slabs, some weighing several tons, are perfectly aligned, giving the space a sense of stability and purpose that suggests both engineering mastery and ritual significance. Visitors often remark on the overwhelming impression of deliberate isolation and the lingering aura of mystery that fills every corridor. The precision with which each granite block was cut and placed underground raises questions about the tools, techniques, and sheer coordination required to assemble such a structure without the conveniences of cranes or scaffolding. The blocks, some exceeding 60 tons, fit together with minimal gaps, and the ceilings are nearly perfectly level despite their immense weight. Ancient accounts and archaeological surveys reveal no definitive explanation for how such feats were achieved, leaving modern engineers both astonished and perplexed. Every surface, corridor, and chamber testifies to a methodical approach that surpasses the engineering capabilities commonly associated with Egypt's Third Dynasty. Water trickles along sunken channels that snake through the chambers, reflecting the stone walls and hinting at a symbolic or ritual purpose, while simultaneously complicating the engineering challenge of building beneath the surface. These channels, some leading into recessed pools, may have represented symbolic passages of the Nile or the journey of the soul through the underworld. At the same time, The presence of water required builders to stabilize foundations against erosion and dampness, a feat accomplished with remarkable foresight. The integration of water into both function and symbolism reinforces the Osirion's uniqueness among Egyptian monuments, merging practical engineering with spiritual narrative. The interlocking walls, polished surfaces, and massive ceiling slabs demonstrate a meticulous attention to stability and alignment, revealing a level of craftsmanship that surpasses most contemporary Egyptian constructions. Stone joints are so precise that even a thin blade cannot penetrate the seams, while the massive slabs are oriented to distribute weight evenly across the chamber. The builders appear to have anticipated both natural stresses and centuries of environmental wear, crafting walls that continue to defy collapse. Every detail, from the cut of each stone to the smoothness of its face, emphasizes intentionality, suggesting a civilization capable of both careful planning and extraordinary technical skill. Chambers and corridors appear carefully oriented along axes that may correspond to celestial events, the rising and setting sun, or symbolic representations of the underworld, suggesting a deliberate integration of architecture and cosmology. Some passages align closely with the solstitial sun, while others seem designed to reflect lunar phases or sacred dates connected to Osiris. This alignment implies not only ritual function but also an understanding of astronomical cycles, connecting the subterranean structure to broader natural and spiritual systems. The Osirion thus becomes more than a tomb-like space. It emerges as a precisely engineered interface between earth, water, and the heavens. Reliefs and inscriptions subtly embellish the walls, with motifs tied to Osiris and funerary ritual, providing clues to the spiritual significance of the underground design and the rituals performed within. Stylized figures, offerings, and symbolic representations of life, death, and regeneration hint at complex ceremonies meant to honor the god of the afterlife. The careful placement of these symbols in conjunction with the chamber's layout demonstrates that the builders were integrating narrative, function, and engineering simultaneously. Archaeologists continue to study these motifs, noting that even subtle variations may indicate different ritual functions or social hierarchies, underscoring the sophistication of the site. Scholars continue to debate how the blocks were quarried, transported, and positioned in such a confined subterranean space, with some suggesting techniques now lost to time and others proposing innovations unknown in mainstream archaeology. Evidence of tool marks indicates the use of copper chisels and wooden levers, yet the precision achieved seems almost impossible given the weight of the stones. Some researchers posit that temporary ramps, wooden scaffolds, or water-assisted movement may have facilitated placement, while others propose that advanced methods have simply been lost to history. The lack of contemporary records only deepens the mystery, leaving each stone as both a puzzle and a monument to human ingenuity. Unlike the pyramids or above-ground temples, the Osirion's sunken chambers create a distinctive architectural anomaly, emphasizing enclosure, reflection, and secrecy rather than visibility and grandeur. Visitors often describe a sense of confinement punctuated by shafts of light and the occasional echo of dripping water, which amplifies the subterranean atmosphere. Unlike sprawling terraces or monumental facades, the Osirion invites introspection, drawing attention to the precision of walls, the alignment of stones, and the subtleties of scale. Its placement below ground gives it a hidden, almost sacred quality, creating the impression of a deliberate withdrawal from the world above, reserved for ritual and the elite few who understood its meaning. The presence of water, precise stone alignment, and chamber size indicate that the space may have been used for ceremonial immersion, symbolic passage to the afterlife, or initiation rites, merging functionality with ritual significance. Pools and channels suggest controlled flooding or water level management, possibly representing the Nile or the regenerative waters of Osiris. The combination of precise engineering and ritual intent indicates that the builders were capable of uniting practical knowledge with profound symbolism, using stone, water, and spatial design to create an experience both physical and spiritual. Every corridor, every pool seems deliberately composed to inspire reverence and contemplation. Radiocarbon dating, architectural analysis, and comparative study suggest that the Osirion may predate or run parallel to nearby temples, raising questions about the evolution of Egyptian engineering and ceremonial architecture. Some evidence points to techniques not commonly associated with later dynastic structures, including massive underground excavation, precise block placement, and integrated water management. These anomalies have led some researchers to suggest that the Osirion preserves a lost tradition or represents a prototype for later tombs and temples. Its precise origin and chronology remain debated, adding layers of mystery to a site already remarkable for its engineering and symbolic coherence. Excavations have revealed traces of wooden structures, ceremonial artifacts, and water management systems, each hinting at practices that remain partially understood, leaving archaeologists both amazed and frustrated. Items recovered include offering vessels, fragmentary inscriptions, and channels suggesting controlled water flow. These findings illustrate a sophisticated approach to ritual and space utilization, as well as technical skill in manipulating underground environments. Despite careful study, many artifacts' purposes remain elusive, and large portions of the Osirion are still inaccessible or partially submerged, preserving a sense of secrecy that continues to challenge modern interpretation. The labyrinthine corridors and vaulted chambers of the Osirion continue to evoke awe, their echoing spaces and massive stone walls hinting at secrets carefully concealed by the builders and preserved by the weight of centuries. Visitors often note the sense of disorientation and scale as the stone passages twist and descend with deliberate irregularity, creating a spatial rhythm that seems both natural and orchestrated. The subterranean environment amplifies sound, shadow, and temperature, creating an atmosphere in which every detail of construction, from block alignment to water channels, commands attention. Even brief visits inspire reflection on the skill, intent, and vision required to create such a complex underground monument. The Osirion endures beneath Abydos as a silent enigma, a hidden chamber of stone and water that continues to challenge the boundaries of human ingenuity and imagination. Tiwanaku's Kailasa Temple, Bolivia. On the high plains of the Altiplano, walls of perfectly fitted stone enclose a sunken courtyard, their precise alignment suggesting careful planning far beyond simple construction. The stones, each weighing several tons, are arranged with astonishing exactness, their seams so tight that even a knife blade cannot slip between them. The vastness of the plateau amplifies the effect, giving the impression that the temple was not merely built but orchestrated, a space carefully measured to frame both human activity and celestial patterns. Every line, angle, and proportion seems deliberate, yet the methods of achieving such harmony remain elusive. Trapezoidal doorways punctuate the walls, their angles exact, creating a subtle rhythm that guides movement and observation across the ceremonial space. These openings are not random, their shape strengthens structural integrity, while also creating visual cues that draw the eye along axes carefully aligned to both courtyard and horizon. Scholars have noted how these doors frame the sun at certain times of the year, suggesting that the architects understood not only geometry but the passage of light across the seasons. Even from a distance, the rhythm of the walls and openings conveys an impression of mathematical precision entwined with ritual purpose. Sunlight filters through the doorways at solstice, casting long, measured shadows that seem to mark time as deliberately as any clock. At dawn, the first rays touch select stones, illuminating carvings and niches with startling accuracy. As the day progresses, the angles of shadow shift in a carefully choreographed performance, hinting at a deep understanding of astronomy. Such precision would have required careful observation over many years, a knowledge system likely embedded within the temple's very stones. It is not merely construction, but celestial choreography, a record of the sun's passage frozen in granite. Monolithic stones, some carved with intricate geometric patterns, stand as silent witnesses to rituals whose meanings remain tantalizingly out of reach. These stones bear motifs that recur across the Tiwanaku culture, yet here their scale and execution suggest a purpose far greater than decoration. Many of the carvings exhibit angles, grooves, and surfaces so precise that even modern tools would struggle to replicate them. Their placement within the courtyard and along sightlines indicates a combination of aesthetic sensibility, spiritual function, and technical mastery, leaving observers to wonder how such meticulous alignment was achieved. The positioning of massive blocks on uneven terrain suggests techniques of leverage, transport, and coordination that continue to defy modern engineering assumptions. Stones weighing multiple tons were raised and positioned on foundations cut into uneven ground, without evidence of cranes or metal tools. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated the difficulty of moving such megaliths, even with contemporary equipment, yet the Tiwanaku builders achieved it with striking precision. Some stones were cut with bevels and grooves that appear intended to interlock, stabilizing them against both seismic activity and centuries of environmental stress. Ceremonial platforms and offering areas reveal the dual nature of the temple, serving both as a sacred stage and a center of social gathering. Evidence of fires, residues, and carefully placed stones suggest that rituals were conducted with meticulous attention to spatial relationships. Participants may have been guided by the architecture itself, moving along pathways and through doorways that dictated the flow of ceremonial processions. The spatial arrangement of these features implies a codified system of ritual choreography, blending cosmology, governance, and human experience within the very fabric of the temple. The foundations and leveled walls display advanced engineering, designed to endure centuries of earthquakes, soil shifts, and the harsh high-altitude climate. Stones are arranged in courses with slight inward inclines, providing both stability and an illusion of flawless verticality. Drainage channels, often overlooked, are embedded subtly to prevent water damage, demonstrating foresight in construction that continues to impress engineers. Even without written records, the temple communicates an understanding of structural dynamics and environmental adaptation, a knowledge that seems remarkably sophisticated for its era. Every doorway and recessed niche may hold symbolic meaning, reflecting cosmological principles, spiritual beliefs, or societal hierarchy within Tiwanaku culture. The proportions of openings, the depth of recesses, and the orientation of niches may encode ideas about the sun, stars, or seasonal cycles. Some scholars suggest that these features delineated spaces for high-ranking individuals during ceremonies, blending ritual symbolism with social order. The design hints at a civilization capable of integrating spiritual, astronomical, and social knowledge into tangible, enduring stone. Kailasa layout and alignment distinguish it from nearby monuments like a kapana, emphasizing observation, ritual precision, and spatial coherence over sheer size. Unlike massive platform mounds, the temple prioritizes exactitude, lines of sight, and coordinated perspectives. This focus on precision creates a subtle but powerful impression that the builders intended the temple as both a tool for measurement and a sacred stage. Every corner and angle contributes to a harmonious whole, reflecting not only engineering skill but also a deliberate cultural philosophy that integrates humans with the rhythms of nature. Archaeologists have uncovered tools, fragments of pottery, and carved stones, revealing glimpses of the rituals and labour that once brought life to the temple. These artifacts suggest that Kailasa was a hub of sustained activity, with specialised craftsmen shaping stones, priests conducting rites, and perhaps astronomers tracking celestial movements. The finds hint at the organisation and skill required to maintain such a complex site, offering only partial insight into the daily operations and spiritual significance that remain largely hidden from modern understanding. Each discovery deepens the sense of both achievement and mystery. Radiocarbon dating and architectural analysis position Kailasa at the heart of Tiwanaku's ceremonial life, anchoring the city's system of ritual, governance, and astronomy. The temple's orientation to solstices and celestial events aligns with other structures across the city, indicating a coordinated urban and ritual plan. Such integration implies a civilization with both social complexity and technical mastery, capable of constructing monuments that served multiple overlapping purposes. The precision of these alignments continues to inspire debate about how they were achieved without advanced instruments. Despite centuries of study, the exact methods used to achieve such alignment, precision, and spatial harmony continue to confound researchers, leaving the temple's mysteries largely intact. Scholars can measure the angles, track the solar cycles, and map the stone placement, yet the question of how humans accomplished such feats at this scale, with such accuracy and without written guidance, persists. Each investigation uncovers more evidence but deepens the puzzle, hinting at knowledge systems that are partly lost to time. Kailasa rises quietly above the Altiplano, a testament to human ingenuity, its stones aligned to the heavens while the methods of its builders remain shrouded in mystery. The Inca walls of Cusco, Peru. Each block in Cusco fits with impossible accuracy, the seams so precise that generations of artisans would marvel at their craftsmanship today. The stones are not uniform, they vary in size and shape, yet every piece nestles perfectly against its neighbours, leaving no gaps and no need for mortar. This polygonal precision has allowed the walls to withstand centuries of weather, seismic activity, and the relentless march of time. Observers often pause at the site, unable to comprehend how the Incas managed to manipulate such massive stones into flawless joints, a feat that continues to inspire both engineers and historians alike. Polygonal stones are carved with subtle angles and interlocking surfaces, creating joints that have resisted centuries of tremors and erosion. Many of the stones appear irregular at first glance, but their interconnection is deliberate, allowing each piece to absorb and distribute stress across the wall. Tiny wedges and angled faces help prevent shifting, while surfaces fit together as if cut to a single invisible plan. Scholars continue to study these connections, yet no written record explains the methods. The precision required, combined with the scale of construction, suggests a level of planning, measurement, and skill that seems almost beyond human capability in the pre-Columbian era. Engineers of the Inca carefully aligned each segment, adjusting sizes and angles to achieve perfect stability without the use of mortar. Unlike other ancient constructions that rely on binding materials, Cusco's foundations depend entirely on geometry, gravity, and friction. Stones are sometimes tapered slightly to enhance their fit, and blocks weighing multiple tons are maneuvered into exact positions along jagged, uneven terrain. The alignment is not merely functional, it reflects an advanced understanding of both form and physics. Modern attempts to replicate this precision, using only simple tools, reveal the extraordinary patience and expertise required to achieve such flawless results. Seismic activity that toppled later structures has scarcely disturbed these formations, revealing knowledge of vibration absorption and structural resilience. In a region prone to earthquakes, many walls remain unshaken, while newer constructions collapse with minimal tremors. The interlocking design, combined with angled joints, allows the stonework to flex and settle rather than fracture. Researchers note that, even after centuries, small gaps can expand and contract without compromising overall integrity, a silent testament to the Incas' foresight and engineering brilliance. Each surviving wall carries the invisible imprint of an ancient understanding of forces that modern engineers are only beginning to quantify. The city's thoroughfares, stairways, and plazas flow seamlessly from these foundations, indicating a sophisticated understanding of urban logic and human movement. Walls define pathways that guide traffic, ceremonial procession, and residential access, weaving function into the very fabric of the city. Stones are placed to accommodate foot traffic, natural drainage, and slope, creating a city where urban planning, architecture, and engineering merge without overt instruction. Visitors and inhabitants alike follow routes shaped by these foundations, unconsciously navigating a system built for centuries of use, revealing that Inca planning extended beyond monumental spectacle into everyday practicality. Methods of quarrying, transporting, and shaping the stones remain unknown, leaving scholars to puzzle over techniques that seem beyond the tools of the era. Some stones, weighing several tons, were moved across uneven terrain, lifted into place, and adjusted with millimeter precision. The absence of draft animals capable of heavy hauling and limited evidence of mechanical aids deepen the mystery. Contemporary experiments have demonstrated that even with modern equipment, replicating the process is challenging. This enigma fuels speculation. Were there undiscovered tools, ingenious leverage systems, or a level of communal coordination that has been lost to history? Precision extends beyond practical concerns. Walls delineate sacred, political, and residential areas, embedding social and spiritual order into the stone. Certain blocks mark ceremonial spaces, while others define living quarters and administrative zones, creating a city that is at once functional and symbolic. The Incas embedded their cosmology and governance into the very foundations, so that geography, architecture, and society converge seamlessly. Each wall becomes a conduit of meaning, offering guidance and boundaries without the need for signs or inscriptions, a silent narrative of power, spirituality, and cultural identity. Foundations integrate with terraces and substructures, harmonizing urban living, agriculture, and ritual spaces in a single enduring design. Walls support terraces that prevent erosion and maximize cultivation, showing an intimate knowledge of soil mechanics and hydrology. Subterranean channels and retaining structures indicate careful planning to maintain stability and fertility, while walls above direct movement and protect key zones. The integration of agricultural and residential engineering demonstrates that precision was not reserved for sacred sites. It was embedded in daily life, creating a city that was both resilient and profoundly practical. The orientation and placement of particular blocks hint at symbolic or astronomical significance, suggesting that geometry and belief were inseparable. Certain walls align with solstices, cardinal points, or sacred mountains, implying that the city functioned as a living observatory. Scholars have identified subtle markers embedded in the masonry that correspond to celestial events, revealing that precision served both earthly and cosmological purposes. Such dual functionality underscores the Inca mastery of combining practical engineering with spiritual and ritual meaning, elevating the city beyond a mere collection of stones to a carefully orchestrated interface between humans and the cosmos. Compared with Sacsayhuaman or Machu Picchu, Cusco demonstrates that exacting construction was not limited to ceremonial sites, but applied to everyday urban life. Here, precision is normalized, extending through walls, streets, and platforms in a manner that supports both population density and long-term durability. The integration of utility and beauty across a functional city sets Cusco apart, revealing an architectural intelligence that balances scale, stability, and aesthetic coherence. Every corner, joint, and foundation stone contributes to a networked harmony, showing that the same meticulous care applied to citadels also governed urban design. Investigations into joint techniques and subtle stone adjustments reveal sophisticated methods that modern engineers still struggle to replicate. Stones are sometimes slightly concave or angled to distribute weight evenly, showing that the Incas understood principles of compression, tension, and load-bearing. Even minor deviations were corrected with precision chiseling or repositioning, indicating iterative design practices. Laboratory testing and 3D modeling confirm that many of the wall's enduring qualities arise from these subtle adjustments. Each experiment deepens the sense of wonder, suggesting that the knowledge encoded in these stones combined practical skill with an almost intuitive understanding of physics. Even under centuries of wear, earthquakes, and environmental stress, the precision of Cusco's stonework remains almost flawless, defying modern understanding of ancient capabilities. Sections once thought eroded or damaged reveal careful repairs that mimic original craftsmanship, preserving the original alignment and geometry. Every joint seems intentional, every block deliberate, as if the builders anticipated both natural and human challenges. Walking among these stones, it becomes impossible to separate engineering from art, function from ritual, and time from craftsmanship, leaving visitors to wonder whether the city itself was designed as a living, enduring puzzle. These interlocking stones whisper a story of Inca ingenuity, perfectly arranged, yet leaving the secrets of their construction tantalizingly beyond reach. Yonaguni Monument, Japan. Off the coast of Yonaguni, a submerged formation stretches across the seafloor, its sharp terraces and stepped platforms provoking intense debate among researchers over whether it is the work of nature or an ancient civilization. Discovered in 1987 by Diva Kihachiro Aratake, the monument immediately captured attention for its seeming precision, its flat surfaces and right angles contrasting sharply with the irregular sandstone cliffs nearby. Some terraces appear perfectly level, extending hundreds of meters, while steps rise at near-perfect intervals, giving the impression of deliberate planning rather than random geological processes. Even under the constant motion of tides and currents, the formation maintains an order and symmetry that have sparked speculation around the world. Rectangular edges and flat planes define much of the structure, producing lines and angles rarely found in natural underwater rock formations. Diver surveys have noted edges running in straight lines over long distances, joined by flat surfaces that appear smoothed in ways difficult to reconcile with natural erosion. On many platforms, corners meet at near right angles, suggesting careful measurement or cutting. The repeated patterns across multiple terraces create the impression of intentionality, provoking questions about what tools or techniques might have been used and by whom. The contrast between jagged natural rock and the monument's geometric sections is stark, leaving observers unsettled by the possible implications. Geological analysis offers partial explanation but also deepens the mystery. The Yonaguni Formation is primarily composed of sandstone, layered in ways that naturally fracture along plains. Some researchers argue that tectonic activity, undersea landslides, and erosion alone could account for certain terraces or ledges, yet others point to features that seem inconsistent with pure geological processes, such as perfectly flat horizontal surfaces, sharp corners, and linear steps. The way certain blocks interlock or align challenges conventional understanding of underwater rock formation, leaving room for debate between those who see nature's hand and those who suspect human intervention. Massive blocks appear in angular arrangements that hint at purpose and planning. Certain terraces rise almost like pyramids, their slopes uniform and consistent, while flat platforms intersect at sharp corners. Some formations resemble staircases or sunken plazas, their dimensions proportioned with precision that would have been difficult even on dry land. These features suggest an architectural logic, a repetition of form that might indicate deliberate shaping or carving rather than coincidental geological fracturing. Divers often describe a sensation of stepping into an underwater city, as if a lost civilization had intentionally sculpted the seafloor to create functional or ceremonial spaces. Divers who explore the monument consistently note patterns that defy simple explanation. Straight ledges and evenly spaced terraces stretch across meters of submerged rock, with angles and alignments that appear too precise to occur randomly. Even minor irregularities are rare, and the few fractures present follow consistent directions that could indicate deliberate design. Photographs and video surveys reveal surfaces that maintain planar integrity under magnification, suggesting more than coincidental formation. The human eye naturally searches for order, yet in this case the order seems to pre-exist expectation, challenging assumptions about natural randomness. Scholarly debate continues decades after its discovery. Marine geologists emphasized natural formation, pointing to sandstone stratification, faulting, and undersea landslides as plausible explanations. Archaeologists and enthusiasts, however, highlight the geometric complexity, suggesting that prehistoric construction could have left its mark on a sunken coastal area, later submerged by rising seas. Each dive, survey, or mapping expedition generates more questions than answers, as the monument resists simple classification. The ambiguity fuels fascination, making Yonaguni both a geological wonder and a potential testament to lost human ingenuity. Closer inspection reveals subtle linear grooves and carefully aligned edges along several platforms, features that some researchers suggest could be remnants of carving or shaping. These lines run consistently across blocks and terraces, occasionally intersecting at angles that hint at deliberate design. Marine activity complicates interpretation, as currents, sand deposition, and erosion can mimic or obscure man-made features. Yet the regularity and repetition of certain forms, combined with measurements consistent across large distances, strengthen arguments for human modification, even if the tools and methods remain unknown. The environment itself both preserves and obscures the monument. Strong currents, shifting sediments, and varying visibility limit the duration and scope of dives, while the constant motion of tides slowly reshapes the surrounding seafloor. Terraces that appear sharp one season may be partially buried in sand the next, making observation a challenge. These dynamic conditions mean that each expedition can reveal different aspects of the formation, sometimes amplifying the mystery as natural and possible artificial features intertwine. Every observation requires careful documentation, as the underwater landscape is both fragile and fleeting. Regional context raises further intrigue. The monument sits near other submerged formations along Japan's Ryukyu Ridge, and some researchers speculate that early human populations could have occupied now submerged coastal areas during the last glacial period. Local legends and ancient stories hint at lost lands beneath the sea, though no definitive archaeological evidence has yet been found to connect them directly to the monument. Nonetheless, the placement of Yonaguni in proximity to other underwater terraces and ridges encourages speculation about prehistoric human activity, engineering, and navigation in East Asia. Modern technology has allowed unprecedented study of the formations. Sonar mapping, 3D modeling, and underwater photogrammetry reveal precise measurements, including right angles, linear alignments, and consistent step intervals. Such data allow researchers to calculate the slope of terraces, the depth of depressions, and the dimensions of flat platforms, producing evidence of symmetry that continues to defy simple natural explanation. While no definitive tool marks have been universally agreed upon, these studies reinforce the impression of precision and deliberation, adding another layer to the ongoing debate over the monument's origins. If the Yonaguni monument is indeed the product of human effort, it suggests a civilization capable of extraordinary engineering under extreme environmental conditions. Knowledge of measurement, levelling and proportion would have been necessary, as would an understanding of coastal processes and stone manipulation. Such capabilities, if confirmed, would predate recorded history by thousands of years, challenging current timelines of technological and architectural development. Each discovery, from sharp corners to flat terraces, hints at ingenuity that remains beyond full comprehension, leaving the monument shrouded in questions as deep as the water above it. Generations of study, diving expeditions, and scientific observation have yet to clarify its origin, leaving the Yonaguni monument suspended between certainty and speculation. The combination of natural processes and possible human intervention creates a tension that captivates geologists, archaeologists, and adventurers alike. Every dive reveals new facets, and every photograph sparks renewed debate. Even as modern technology improves, the monument retains its ability to surprise, confound, and challenge assumptions about the past. Its submerged terraces, steps, and angular blocks remain a puzzle that continues to intrigue anyone who encounters it. Shadows cling to the terraces and stairways of Yonaguni, guarding an ancient enigma that neither time, tide, nor modern inquiry has yet unravelled. The Horyuji Pagoda, Japan. Ancient beams rise in perfect alignment, their interlocking framework forming a pagoda that has survived more than a millennium without the aid of nails or modern reinforcements. Each tier seems to float above the one below, balanced with a delicacy that belies the sheer weight of its wooden skeleton. The 5-story structure, built in the early 7th century, stands as one of the oldest surviving wooden buildings on Earth. Its longevity raises questions that have fascinated architects and historians alike. How could craftsmen, working without advanced tools, achieve such extraordinary precision and structural foresight in an era defined by simple technologies? The builders selected timber not only for strength but for longevity, carefully choosing Japanese cypress and other resilient woods capable of withstanding centuries of weather and stress. Each beam was likely dried and treated to resist rot, insects, and seasonal expansion, demonstrating a knowledge of material properties far ahead of its time. The sheer size of some components, including massive central pillars, suggests that craftsmen had to transport and position these timbers with remarkable ingenuity. Even today, the scale of their achievement seems almost impossible when considering the absence of cranes, pulleys, or standardized measurement tools. Each joint fits with astonishing precision, carved to slide seamlessly into its counterpart, creating connections so tight that even subtle movement under stress is absorbed without damage. Mortise and tenon joinery, scarf joints, and interlocking wooden pegs work in harmony to allow flexibility while maintaining stability. Scholars continue to marvel at the almost seamless fit of these components, noting that some joins appear to be cut to fractions of a millimetre. The subtle angles and precise notches distribute forces across the structure, ensuring that it can bend and sway without breaking during seasonal storms or seismic events. Ingenious structural design allows the pagoda to sway gently during earthquakes, dissipating energy through layered tiers and flexible joinery that modern studies have confirmed as remarkably effective. Observers note that when tremors pass through the surrounding hills, the entire pagoda moves rhythmically rather than resisting rigidly. This elasticity, invisible to the casual eye, hints at an advanced understanding of natural forces, as if the builders anticipated the earthquakes that would challenge their creation for centuries. Each tier, each beam, and each connector contributes to a silent choreography of motion that preserves the building in times of upheaval. Proportions were calculated with meticulous care, each tier decreasing in height and width to maintain balance, stability, and an unmistakable harmony visible from every angle. Vertical and horizontal measurements align with a precision that ensures the center of gravity remains constant, preventing collapse even when lateral forces act upon the structure. The visual rhythm of the tiers creates both aesthetic beauty and functional strength, suggesting that the builders understood the connection between form and physics in a way that continues to inspire awe. Their work transforms engineering into an art, the precision as much spiritual as practical. Primitive yet highly effective tools, from hand chisels to specialized wooden planes, enabled craftsmen to shape massive beams with a degree of accuracy that continues to perplex historians. Marks on the wood indicate careful planning, repeated measurement, and remarkable control of cutting depth and angle. The labor required would have been immense, yet there is no evidence of structural flaws from poor workmanship. Every surface, every notch, every taper shows intentionality and forethought, leaving modern observers to wonder how an ancient culture achieved what contemporary carpenters and architects can scarcely replicate without mechanized equipment. Ancient records reference the construction, yet debates remain. Some scholars argue certain techniques were intuitive, passed orally from master to apprentice, while others suggest a sophisticated understanding of geometry and physics unknown for its era. Historical documents are sparse, leaving room for speculation about the planning process, the role of religious or political leaders, and the degree to which the builders employed standardized measurements. The absence of detailed instructions makes the achievement even more mysterious, as the pagoda reflects both human ingenuity and cultural priorities without leaving a conventional blueprint for posterity. Centuries of maintenance have revealed the brilliance of the original craftsmanship, as repairs often fit perfectly within the structure without compromising its balance or aesthetic. Roof tiles, beams, and connectors have been replaced over time, yet the original joinery accommodates interventions seamlessly. This compatibility suggests a level of foresight in construction, as if the builders anticipated the need for centuries of care. Conservationists today marvel at how easy it is to maintain the structure without undermining its integrity, a testament to the builders' foresight and the enduring logic of their design. The pagoda's precision was more than functional. It embodies spiritual symbolism, reflecting Buddhist concepts of harmony, impermanence, and the interplay of structure and emptiness. Each tier represents a cosmological idea, and the careful spacing and alignment convey both philosophical and practical meaning. The interplay of vertical and horizontal planes evokes a sense of meditation, calm, and order, connecting the physical precision of the building to the intellectual and spiritual precision of the culture that produced it. Its design communicates a world-view, encoded in wood and geometry, that remains legible across centuries. Attempts to recreate the structure today reveal how even minor adjustments can disrupt its balance, exposing the extraordinary skill embedded in every joint and beam. Architects experimenting with modern replicas find that slight misalignments or small errors in tapering compromise the entire tier's stability. The challenges highlight the subtle mastery of the original builders, who engineered solutions without computers, lasers, or power tools. Each failure serves as evidence of their expertise, confirming that what appears simple in its symmetry was the product of deliberate planning, skill, and observation of natural forces. Even now, certain aspects remain unexplained, from the exact methods used to join massive beams to subtle alignments that appear intentional yet remain enigmatic. Questions persist about whether scaffolding techniques, lifting methods, or temporary supports existed, and why certain dimensions were chosen over others. Scholars can measure, model, and theorize, yet the construction still seems to possess secrets lost to time. The combination of artistry, physics, and ritual creates a puzzle, one that invites endless study but offers few definitive answers about how humans in the 7th century achieved such enduring brilliance. Visitors at present sense the weight of centuries, feeling both the elegance and the complexity of a structure built with foresight, skill, and an enduring understanding of material behavior. Standing beneath its eaves, observers notice the subtle angles, the curvature of roof lines, and the harmony of proportions that give the pagoda both resilience and grace. The building communicates more than architecture. It conveys a dialogue across time, where each beam, peg, and tile embodies lessons in patience, precision, and harmony. Every glance reveals patterns that challenge understanding and provoke quiet admiration for the builder's unseen intentions. Silent and steadfast, the Horyuji pagoda endures as a testament to a forgotten mastery of wood, precision, and balance that challenges every generation that studies it. Chichen Itza's El Castillo, Mexico. The pyramid known as El Castillo rises with remarkable clarity from the dense Yucatan jungle, each tier of stone terraces cut with astonishing regularity. Its massive silhouette dominates the surrounding landscape, yet the true marvel lies not only in its size, but in the way it interacts with the sun and sky. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, a precise shadow appears to slither down the northwest staircase, forming a serpent that seems to descend into the stone of the temple below. This alignment was no accident, and every step, every angle, bears the imprint of careful observation and an understanding of celestial cycles that remains astonishing to modern scholars. The phenomenon of the serpent shadow is not merely aesthetic, it demonstrates a sophisticated comprehension of solar motion. As the sun moves along the horizon, the light falls at exact intervals, creating the illusion of a living serpent undulating along the pyramid's face. The Maya timed ceremonies to coincide with this optical spectacle, indicating that architecture, ritual, and astronomy were fused into a single harmonious design. Researchers marvel at the precision required, considering the builders had only simple tools and careful observation to achieve such an effect over hundreds of feet of stone. Beyond shadows, the pyramid itself is an extraordinary calendar in stone. El Castillo's 4 staircases each contain 91 steps, adding to a total of 365 when the platform at the summit is included, perfectly reflecting the solar year. Every stone seems purposefully measured, creating a structure that encodes time itself within its geometry. The careful division of levels, terraces, and corners mirrors the cycles of the sun and stars, and even the spaces between blocks hint at deliberate proportional design. The Maya encoded knowledge of months, seasons, and celestial movements directly into the pyramid, a mathematical and astronomical monument integrated with the physical world. Constructing such a pyramid required transporting and shaping massive blocks of local limestone with precision that challenges modern comprehension. The stones were cut with hand tools, moved across uneven terrain, and assembled into perfectly aligned tiers. Each platform is level to an extraordinary degree, and the joints between blocks are uniform despite centuries of erosion. The scale of the work combined with the accuracy achieved suggests advanced surveying methods and an understanding of geometry that few civilizations at the time could match, creating a structure that appears impossibly precise even today. Acoustic properties of the pyramid further attest to its deliberate design. A sharp clap near the base produces an echo that resembles the chirp of a sacred bird, a phenomenon noted by both visitors and researchers. Sound travels in unexpected ways across the terraces and steps, amplifying chants and music during rituals. These auditory effects suggest that the pyramid was not merely visual, but a multisensory instrument, amplifying human presence in harmony with architecture. Such attention to detail reflects the Mayas' holistic conception of sacred space, where sound, sight, and movement were orchestrated together. The ceremonial importance of El Castillo cannot be overstated. From the summit, priests would oversee rituals that involved offerings, sacrifices, and public observances, each aligned with solar and lunar events. The pyramid's precision reinforced spiritual authority, as the timing of shadows and light became a cosmic backdrop for human activity. Ordinary observers would have been struck by the apparent perfection of the structure and its harmony with the heavens, imbuing the ritual with awe and reinforcing the connection between human actions and celestial rhythms. Carvings and reliefs along staircases and terraces complement the pyramid's architecture, hinting at a fusion of artistry and mathematical skill. Serpentine motifs, geometric patterns, and depictions of deities are placed with a consideration for symmetry and alignment that suggests more than decoration. Scholars have noted that certain carvings are positioned to interact with shadows or reflect sunlight in precise ways, turning each tier into a visual layer of knowledge. These details indicate that the pyramid was conceived as both a monumental calendar and a sacred canvas, merging science, religion, and craftsmanship. The geometric design and alignment of El Castillo required observational methods that remain difficult to reconstruct. Scholars have proposed the use of simple sighting tools, poles, and horizon markers to establish cardinal directions and angles. Despite the apparent simplicity of their instruments, the Maya achieved measurements accurate enough to replicate solar phenomena across centuries. The challenge lies in understanding how knowledge was preserved and transmitted, as even small errors would have disrupted the intricate interplay of shadow and light that defines the pyramid's signature equinox display. Certain aspects of El Castillo remain enigmatic. Small chambers, hidden recesses, and variations in the platform's construction suggest purposes or symbolic meanings that are still speculative. Some researchers posit that these features might relate to astronomical observations or ceremonial functions that have been lost to history. The precision and alignment extend beyond the visible surfaces, hinting at knowledge embedded in the pyramid's very structure. Even after extensive study, these details provoke more questions than answers, underscoring the sophistication of the Maya and the enduring mystery of their intentions. Environmental conditions further highlight the builder's achievement. Tropical rains, shifting soils, and centuries of erosion could have easily disrupted the pyramid's delicate alignments. Yet El Castillo maintains a remarkable level of precision, its terraces level and staircases uniform despite the passage of time. The choice of limestone, coupled with careful drainage and tiered construction, demonstrates foresight and an understanding of the local environment that enhance the structure's durability. It is a testament to skill and planning that the pyramid has endured intact, allowing modern observers to witness phenomena that align with celestial events. The visual and symbolic impact of the pyramid is magnified by the careful interplay of scale, proportion, and perspective. Each tier narrows as the structure ascends, guiding the observer's gaze upward and framing the summit as both a physical and spiritual focal point. Light and shadow interact across surfaces to emphasize geometry and ritual significance. The effect is intentional and deliberate, blending utility, beauty, and ceremony into a single architectural masterpiece that communicates the power and knowledge of the civilization that created it. Today, El Castillo continues to captivate scholars, tourists, and enthusiasts who come to witness its precise interplay with the sun. Photographs, studies, and repeated observations confirm the careful astronomical and mathematical planning embedded within each step, yet the exact methods remain elusive. The pyramid's blend of functionality, ritual symbolism, and impossible precision creates a lasting impression of both genius and mystery, encouraging reflection on the capabilities of an ancient civilization that continues to challenge modern understanding. El Castillo stands at the heart of the Yucatan, a silent sentinel of stone and shadow, whispering secrets of time, astronomy, and human ingenuity that have yet to be fully deciphered. Derinkuyu Underground City, Turkey. Descending into the earth, the cool darkness swallows the faint echo of footsteps, revealing corridors carved with startling precision that hint at a civilization capable of engineering the impossible. The entrance to Derinkuyu appears deceptively modest from the surface, a small opening among the Cappadocian rock formations, yet as one ventures inward, the scope becomes staggering. Stone walls rise smoothly from floor to ceiling, and narrow passageways twist and turn with a logic that seems almost alive. Each turn invites both awe and unease, as the ingenuity behind such subterranean mastery grows more apparent with every step. The city plunges vertically through soft volcanic rock, each level connected by winding staircases and narrow passageways that defy any modern expectation of subterranean organization. Spaces descend floor after floor, revealing chambers of varying sizes, some grand and vaulted, others compact and utilitarian. The layout shows a deliberate plan, a careful choreography designed to maximize space while maintaining defensibility. Even in darkness, the alignment of corridors feels purposeful, guiding the visitor along routes that suggest both communal flow and strategic control, a subterranean network built to sustain life and secrecy simultaneously. Slender ventilation shafts pierce the ceilings, their alignment ensuring air moves freely across multiple floors, a hidden system that speaks to meticulous planning far ahead of its time. These vertical channels, some barely wide enough to allow a human hand, provide oxygen deep below the surface, yet their placement also hints at an intimate understanding of the behavior of air within enclosed spaces. It is a feat of engineering that combines physics with foresight, as every shaft maintains balance across countless rooms. In a world without modern mechanics, such efficiency in subterranean climate control is nothing short of extraordinary. Hidden chambers emerge around every corner, some accessible only through cleverly concealed openings, suggesting spaces designed to conceal both people and possessions in moments of peril. Tiny doors blend seamlessly into walls, and niches built into corners could easily hide entire families or vital supplies. The precision with which these areas are carved allows them to remain unseen until discovered, a testimony to the strategic intelligence of Derinkuyu's creators. Each concealed space raises more questions than it answers, hinting at a society accustomed to threats that demanded ingenuity and stealth, while providing a startling glimpse into the lives that once thrived in the shadows. Massive stone doors, perfectly rounded and capable of sealing entire corridors, hint at a defensive sophistication that transforms the labyrinth into a fortress beneath the landscape. Circular slabs of volcanic rock could be rolled into position, creating impassable barriers against intruders, and yet the balance of these stones allowed rapid movement when needed. Their sheer weight, combined with the exacting smoothness of their edges, underscores a mastery of materials and mechanics that is difficult to reconcile with tools of the period. Every door is a puzzle of strength, proportion, and subtle engineering, a silent sentinel protecting the secrets below. Cisterns and wells are seamlessly integrated into the floors and walls, providing a constant water supply and demonstrating engineering that allowed inhabitants to survive long periods underground without reliance on surface sources. Channels carved into rock-guide water with subtle gradients, while collection basins and storage pits capture rain or seepage. This hydraulic ingenuity ensured the survival of hundreds of residents for extended periods, turning Derinkuyu from a temporary refuge into a sustainable underground city. The design reveals an intricate understanding of natural resources, combined with the foresight to make life beneath the earth both viable and resilient. Kitchens, chapels, and communal quarters unfold along the passages, each carefully proportioned and oriented, revealing that this underground expanse was more than a refuge. It was a fully functional city. Hearths carved from stone bear evidence of cooking practices, while small altars and niches indicate spiritual observances. Communal halls accommodate gatherings, suggesting social cohesion and ritual activity despite the confined underground space. Every element of daily life is accounted for, from sleeping arrangements to food preparation, showing that the inhabitants achieved a delicate balance between necessity and comfort, all while remaining hidden from the surface world above. The walls, smoothly hewn and joined with remarkable uniformity, suggest an expertise in stonework that still baffles scholars attempting to reconstruct the methods of their ancient creators. Even corners and junctions exhibit geometric precision, as if each chamber were measured and modelled before a single strike of the chisel. Marks of tools are minimal, and the overall cohesion of the rock forms a structure that has withstood centuries of geological pressure. It is impossible to overlook the skill and patience required, and yet no records survive to explain the techniques or motivations behind such flawless subterranean construction. Shaped directly from the volcanic tuff, the city demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of rock stability, with each chamber and corridor engineered to withstand the immense pressure of centuries above. Load-bearing walls and columns are positioned with careful calculation, distributing weight in ways that modern engineers can only marvel at. Even after millennia of earthquakes and erosion, Derinkuyu remains structurally sound, a testament to knowledge that was both empirical and intuitive. The stone itself was not merely carved but mastered, manipulated to serve both functional and defensive purposes without compromise. Spanning perhaps 8 or more levels, the full extent of Derinkuyu remains partially hidden, with chambers and shafts still unexplored, underscoring the vastness and complexity of the underground labyrinth. Archaeologists have mapped only a fraction of its true reach, and new tunnels continue to reveal unexpected rooms or passageways. Each discovery emphasizes how carefully the network was designed to expand yet remain integrated. The deeper levels rarely entered may hold answers or further mysteries about the people who undertook such an audacious feat of construction far beneath the Earth's surface. Evidence of daily life, storage rooms, living spaces, and ceremonial niches hints at a society that balanced survival, ritual, and communal order, all while remaining concealed beneath the surface. Pottery fragments, oil lamps, and remnants of food storage reveal routines preserved in rock, while the presence of altars and shrines suggests spiritual practices intertwined with daily needs. Every corridor and room carries traces of human presence, reminding visitors that Derinkuyu was not merely a shelter from danger, but a living, breathing community. It is a place where ingenuity and culture merge deep underground. Modern excavations have revealed only fragments of its network, leaving unanswered questions about the precision, purpose and sheer audacity required to construct such a subterranean marvel. Archaeologists debate how long the city took to build, how inhabitants coordinated construction, and what threats demanded such secrecy. Yet despite centuries of study, the full extent of Derinkuyu, its hidden chambers, and the minds behind its creation remain largely speculative. Every uncovered room raises new enigmas, reminding the world that some achievements defy complete understanding, even in the modern age. Even after thousands of years, the tunnels, chambers, and hidden corridors of Derinkuyu continue to challenge our understanding of human ingenuity and survival, a labyrinth whose origins and methods remain shrouded in both history and shadow. The Temple of the Sun at Ollantaytambo, Peru. Stepping onto the terraces, the observer feels the weight of history pressed against the soles of their feet as the colossal stones rise before them, each edge perfectly shaped to fit its neighbour. The sheer scale is immediately apparent, yet it is the seamless precision of the masonry that arrests the attention. The corners align with an accuracy that seems almost impossible for pre-industrial builders. Every stone seems to have been selected not only for size but for its unique contour, creating a pattern that carries both structural stability and visual harmony. Walking along the lower terraces, one senses that the placement of each block was deliberate, intended to guide the eye upward toward the temple itself, where the sunlight illuminates every carved face with deliberate brilliance. Even the slightest misalignment would disrupt the flow, yet none is apparent. The angular faces of the stones reveal an artistry that defies the simplest explanation. Their smooth surfaces and tight joints hinting at tools and techniques lost to time. Observers often note that no mortar was used, yet the stones fit together so closely that not even a thin blade can pass between them. Some blocks measure several meters across, their immense weight suggesting feats of engineering that challenge modern imagination. The surfaces, polished by centuries of weathering, betray a skillful manipulation of raw rock that required more than brute force. Each joint seems calculated to endure, resisting both earthquakes and the constant shifting of the Andean terrain, as if the builders anticipated the relentless passage of time. From this vantage, the terraces unfold in meticulous order, their alignment forming pathways that guide both sight and spirit toward the temple above. The layout is more than functional, it is ceremonial, directing movement and attention toward a sacred summit. Visitors can trace the steps of ancient pilgrims who ascended these terraces in ritual procession, pausing at vantage points where the temple and valley intersect in precise visual harmony. The terraces themselves serve multiple purposes, combining agricultural utility with defensive strategy, yet they never sacrifice aesthetic or symbolic design. It is evident that every element of the space, from the broad stone stairways to the narrow connecting paths, was conceived with an eye toward order, reverence, and endurance. Sunlight traces precise paths along the stones at sunrise and sunset, revealing an intentional orchestration of illumination that marks celestial events far before modern calendars existed. Certain stones catch the first rays of dawn in alignment with the solstice, casting patterns that may have served both ceremonial and agricultural purposes. This careful choreography of light implies that astronomical observation informed not only ritual but also the architectural plan, embedding knowledge of the heavens into the very fabric of stone. Even subtle variations in angle would have disrupted the intended effect, yet every projection and recess performs perfectly, leaving little doubt that intention guided their placement. Within niches and recessed platforms, evidence of ceremonial practice persists, where offerings and rituals were likely conducted with reverence for both the sun and the surrounding peaks. Small altars and carved steps suggest spaces for priests and leaders to perform rites visible to onlookers below. Archaeologists have found traces of stone bowls, incense residue, and fragments of ceremonial pottery, each indicating that this was a site of sustained religious significance. The interplay of architecture and ritual reflects a sophisticated culture that understood both the material and symbolic power of stone. Every platform, every alcove, seems designed to elevate the human presence, bridging the earthly and the divine. The temple's placement resonates with the contours of the valley and the flow of the river below, as if every stone were chosen to harmonize with the broader landscape. Lines of sight from the temple connect to distant peaks, suggesting that the builders were conscious of topography, water, and horizon in their planning. Paths descending the terraces align with natural ridgelines, blending architecture with environment in a manner that appears effortless yet required immense foresight. The site functions not just as a temple, but as an integrative landscape, where human intention merges seamlessly with geological features, creating a dialogue between stone, water, and sky. Enormous monoliths, each weighing countless tons, appear to have been maneuvered with a sophistication that defies contemporary understanding of Incan construction techniques. The method by which these stones were quarried, transported, and positioned remains uncertain. Some suggest that a combination of ramps, ropes, and ingenuity allowed workers to move them into place, yet the precision with which the stones interlock surpasses simple explanation. Their arrangement requires careful balancing and exact angling, a feat that would be difficult even with modern machinery. The absence of mortar amplifies the mystery, as the stones bear immense weight and endure seismic activity without shifting or cracking. Certain stones bear angles and cuts that seem almost too precise for their scale, raising questions about whether geometry or symbolic purpose dictated their shaping. Some blocks are subtly inclined, others feature polished planes that suggest intentional reflection of light or shadow. The uniformity of these shapes indicates not only skilled craftsmanship, but also an advanced understanding of spatial relationships, perhaps encoded in mathematical knowledge now lost. These geometric subtleties are more than decorative. They may have conveyed meaning or served functions still debated by researchers, leaving observers to wonder at the sophistication of their ancient designers. Beyond the temple itself, the network of terraces and streets suggests a larger urban plan, integrating agriculture, defense, and sacred space with flawless coordination. Grain terraces climb the hillsides, channels direct rainwater, and stairways connect neighborhoods, all executed with remarkable coherence. The city plan supports the theory that religious, practical, and defensive needs were considered simultaneously, revealing a society capable of complex, integrated thinking. The temple sits at the apex, a focal point not only physically but socially and spiritually, reinforcing its central role in the life of Ollantaytambo. Centuries of wind, rain, and seismic tremors have worn the stones, yet the accuracy of their original placement remains astonishing, resisting both nature and time. Earthquakes have frequently shaken the valley, yet the temple and terraces remain intact, a testament to enduring skill. Even eroded surfaces show how each stone's weight and angle contribute to a stable whole. Observers cannot help but marvel at the foresight and care invested in the design, where function, symbolism, and durability converge seamlessly. Scholars examining the site today continue to marvel at the precision, noting measurements that align with solstices and equinoxes, while much about the construction methods remains elusive. Surveys reveal that horizontal and vertical tolerances in the masonry are minute, comparable to modern engineering standards. The alignment with astronomical markers suggests a culture deeply attuned to both celestial observation and ritual timing, incorporating knowledge into architecture in ways that remain puzzling. Each visit invites renewed astonishment, as new angles, shadows, and alignments reveal layers of intentionality built into the stone. Standing amid the terraces, one cannot escape the sensation that every stone, every angle was chosen with intention beyond mere practicality, leaving an enduring enigma that transcends generations. The tactile sensation of tracing the stones with hands and eyes reinforces the human effort involved, yet also underscores the impossibility of fully reconstructing the minds behind their arrangement. Questions of technique, purpose, and symbolism linger, suggesting knowledge now lost and yet still whispering through the valley. Even after centuries, the Temple of the Sun watches quietly over the river and peaks, guarding secrets that seem determined to remain beyond our reach. Carnac stones, France. The rolling fields of Brittany stretch in endless green, yet it is the sudden appearance of countless stones that arrests attention, their weathered surfaces rising from the earth with uncanny regularity. Some stand alone, while others form impossibly long lines, thousands of menhirs arranged with a precision that continues to confound archaeologists and engineers alike. Their sheer scale is staggering, with individual stones weighing tens of tons, yet each is placed so carefully that the lines appear deliberately aligned with the horizon. Few places on Earth evoke the same mixture of awe and unease, as the Carnac stones speak to a lost mastery over both labour and landscape. Even centuries of exposure to wind, rain and frost have done little to diminish the enigmatic geometry that underpins the entire complex. Local tradition whispers of druidic rites, yet the reality of their construction likely predates even the earliest Celtic practices. Modern surveys reveal subtle patterns in spacing, orientation and grouping, as if the stones themselves were components of a vast, incomprehensible plan. Despite the centuries, the original purpose of these alignments remains elusive, leaving the imagination to wander through possibilities as vast as the fields themselves. Every angle, every carefully set stone hints at knowledge and intent now veiled by time. Here, the ordinary rhythms of rural life are punctuated by a monumental reminder of human ambition and mystery. Observing the stones from a distance, one notices a discipline in their layout that defies randomness, as if the builders possessed an exacting sense of measurement that has not survived elsewhere. Survey teams have attempted to measure the rows, and results consistently reveal extraordinary uniformity, with spacing precise to the centimetre across stretches that span hundreds of metres. The consistency suggests more than mere manpower. It implies an understanding of geometry and surveying techniques that modern experts struggle to replicate without mechanical assistance. Even the tallest stones, some exceeding 4 metres in height, exhibit an alignment that suggests careful consideration of sightlines and topography. In some sectors, stones taper subtly, creating visual effects that only become apparent when viewed along specific axes, hinting at an aesthetic awareness intertwined with functional design. Field studies have also noted minute variations in stone placement that may indicate adaptation to the terrain, but never at the expense of the overall plan. For generations, this intricate balance between natural irregularity and human order has baffled those who attempt to reconstruct the original layout. The lines extend beyond immediate perception, fading into the horizon yet continuing their precise course over miles of terrain. In this enduring arrangement, one begins to sense an architectural language that predates written records. The purpose of such careful placement remains debated, yet the evidence of deliberate design is undeniable. Among the stones themselves, variations in size and shape suggest different intentions or symbolic meaning, as if some stones were meant to command attention, while others serve as subtle markers. Certain menhirs are ornately decorated with carvings, spirals, axes, and anthropomorphic motifs that have survived millennia of erosion. These etchings provide tantalizing glimpses into the cultural and spiritual context of their builders, yet their precise meaning remains obscure. Attempts to link the symbols with astronomical phenomena yield intriguing correlations, but no definitive conclusions, reinforcing the sense that the Carnac stones encode knowledge lost to history. Chemical analysis of the stones confirms they were sourced from quarries several kilometres away, demonstrating a logistical sophistication that would challenge contemporary societies. Transporting and erecting these monoliths without metal tools or draft animals would have required extraordinary coordination and ingenuity. In many ways, the Carnac stones are as much a testament to human organisation as they are to artistry. The shifting light of dawn casts faint shadows between the rows, revealing angles and alignments that hint at solar and lunar cycles. Certain rows appear to orient toward the rising sun during the winter solstice, while others may correspond to lunar extremes, creating a celestial map etched into stone. Attempts to map these alignments systematically have produced fascinating patterns, though the interpretations remain speculative. Ancient observers may have used the rows for ceremonial observation, agricultural timing, or other purposes now lost. What is indisputable, however, is the extraordinary precision with which these alignments were achieved, requiring an understanding of astronomy, geometry, and surveying that would challenge many later civilizations. Walking among the stones, one can feel an almost imperceptible rhythm in their placement, as if each stone marks a measured interval along a broader plane. Lines extend beyond human comprehension, guiding the eye and imagination simultaneously. The repetition of form across hundreds of meters creates a hypnotic effect, drawing attention to the subtle interplay of height, spacing, and orientation. The precise relationship between rows suggests planning on a scale that transcends individual effort. This coordinated vision hints at a society capable of organizing large labor forces over generations, yet virtually nothing is known of the people who conceived it. Excavations in surrounding areas have revealed traces of habitation and ritual activity, including pottery fragments, tools and burnt offerings, though none explain the enormous scope of the construction itself. These discoveries indicate a settlement capable of sustaining long-term projects, yet the social, political and spiritual frameworks behind the work remain unclear. Evidence suggests the monument was built gradually over centuries, perhaps by multiple generations following a consistent plan. This continuity implies either a remarkable adherence to tradition or a cultural understanding of principles that we can scarcely imagine. Some stones appear intentionally shaped with subtle angles and flares, creating optical effects only visible from certain perspectives. These details suggest a mastery of visual perception, combining functional placement with deliberate artistry. Observers have noted that walking along specific paths reveals hidden axes or sightlines, hinting at an integrated experience between movement, observation, and symbolism. Such complexity adds another layer of mystery, as the monument engages the observer not just spatially, but cognitively. A closer look at certain menhirs reveals evidence of advanced quarrying techniques. Stone surfaces are smoothed to near perfection, and holes carved into strategic points may have facilitated lifting and transport. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated that replicating these methods with rudimentary tools is possible, but would require immense time and labour. The precision with which these techniques were applied across hundreds of stones continues to astonish scholars and artisans alike. Investigators examining the alignments have traced their orientation to solstices and lunar cycles, yet no single explanation fully accounts for the precision or intent behind the stones. The convergence of astronomical alignment, geometric regularity and cultural expression suggests the site functioned on multiple levels: practical, ceremonial and symbolic. Despite centuries of observation, the Carnac complex resists interpretation, leaving endless questions about its creators and their understanding of the cosmos. Weathering and human activity have left some stones fractured or toppled, yet the majority maintain their intended form. Restoration attempts in the modern era have tried to respect original positioning, yet even minimal disturbances risk erasing subtle angles and spacing critical to the original vision. The monument's survival over thousands of years attests to careful construction and a degree of resilience difficult to achieve even today. Each stone seems to whisper stories of cultural memory, hierarchy and labour now irretrievably lost. Investigators examining patterns across the entire landscape note recurring groupings, such as alignments forming U-shapes, parallel lines, or concentric arcs. These arrangements may suggest ritual pathways or observational markers, yet no definitive interpretation has emerged. Each configuration reflects an intentionality that extends beyond individual stones, hinting at an overarching plan that governed placement, spacing, and alignment. Such subtlety emphasizes the sophistication of those who conceived the arrangement. Among the elongated rows, a quiet authority pervades the landscape, hinting at ceremonies, signals, or knowledge that time has all but erased. Though centuries have passed, and civilizations have risen and fallen nearby, the stones remain fixed in their original positions, an enduring testament to the people who imagined them. Their size, number, and alignment continue to evoke wonder and speculation, ensuring that every visit is an encounter with human ingenuity frozen in time. The Carnac stones persist in silence, their carefully arranged forms guarding mysteries that have eluded comprehension for countless generations. The Barabar Caves, India. Granite cliffs conceal entrances so precise that they seem to have been carved not by human hands, but by some unseen intelligence. The Barabar Caves, tucked deep within the rocky hills of Bihar, India, are among the oldest surviving examples of rock-cut architecture in the subcontinent. Each opening, hewn directly from the solid granite, presents an exacting symmetry that immediately distinguishes them from natural formations. Visitors cannot help but sense that the caves were intended to inspire awe, their thresholds acting as portals into spaces both sacred and meticulously controlled. Sunlight glances off the polished walls, revealing surfaces so smooth that even centuries of wind, rain, and human touch have left them almost untouched. Every doorway presents an exacting symmetry, with corners and angles aligned in ways that defy conventional Mauryan-era construction methods. Scholars note that the right angles and near-perfect alignments suggest a mathematical precision rarely attributed to artisans of the 3rd century BCE. The entrances themselves are monumental statements, imposing yet deceptively simple, hinting at the mastery of those who envisioned them. It is as if the builders understood principles of geometry and proportion that would not be codified in texts for generations, allowing them to create spaces that feel both monumental and intimately ordered. Within the first chamber, polished walls gleam as if they have been burnished with liquid light, reflecting shadows in an almost impossible uniformity. The effect is disorienting for those accustomed to the rough-hewn interiors of other ancient structures. Here, each surface seems alive with a subtle radiance. Light, when it enters, is diffused evenly across the walls, creating a serene atmosphere. Some researchers have speculated that the polish, achieved through extraordinary labour, may have been intended to enhance meditative practices or ritual performances, though the exact purpose remains unclear. The quality of the work defies conventional explanation, raising questions about the methods and tools employed. Even the faintest sound travels through the halls with startling clarity, transforming whispers into a resonance that fills the entire cavern. Conversations echo, footsteps reverberate, and the quiet murmur of air currents seems amplified by the precise angles of the chamber walls. Such acoustic properties suggest intentional design, where the space itself becomes an instrument. Whether for monastic recitations, ceremonial purposes, or simply as a demonstration of mastery over the medium, the auditory effects leave visitors with a profound sense of the cave's purposeful complexity. Every whisper feels magnified, lending an almost supernatural weight to the silence. Vaulted ceilings rise smoothly from the floor, forming geometrical planes that create a sense of order and calm unlike any natural formation. The ceilings are unbroken, unblemished by cracks or irregularities, implying that the masons had both exceptional skill and a profound understanding of structural integrity. Unlike later rock-cut structures that rely on columned supports, these caves achieve stability through sheer precision and the careful distribution of weight. Walking beneath these ceilings, one feels the careful planning that must have gone into every cut, every removal of stone and every polished surface, a testament to a civilization capable of both aesthetic vision and technical mastery. The techniques required to hollow out and polish solid granite remain a mystery, suggesting skills or tools that modern archaeologists still struggle to replicate. Granite, notoriously hard even with modern equipment, would have required extraordinary effort to carve so flawlessly with iron tools of the Mauryan period. Theories abound. Some suggest abrasives or rudimentary lathes, while others propose unknown technologies lost to time. Each approach, however, must contend with the sheer precision evident in the interior walls, floors and ceilings, which challenge contemporary assumptions about the capabilities of ancient craftsmen. Inscriptions etched into the stone hint at royal patronage, yet reveal little about the intentions that inspired such meticulous craftsmanship. All certain chambers bear dedications to Ashoka, the famed Mauryan emperor, indicating that these caves were not merely functional spaces but symbols of state and spiritual influence. Still, the inscriptions do not explain why this particular form of rock-cut precision was pursued, nor do they clarify the philosophical or religious motivations behind the selection of sites, orientation, and proportions. The ambiguity leaves modern observers to wonder whether practicality, devotion, or an unknown purpose guided the creation of these enigmatic halls. Ascetics and monks may have walked these halls, where the austere perfection of the space seemed designed to sharpen contemplation and focus. The caves are associated with earlier Jivaka monks, who were known for their disciplined spiritual practices, suggesting that the environment itself was meant to reinforce mental clarity. The smoothness of the walls, the resonant acoustics, and the precise geometrical layouts may all have been instrumental in fostering meditation, reflection, or ritual. Such considerations underscore the sophisticated understanding of human perception and psychology possessed by the architects, who transformed stone into an instrument of the mind. The rock's integrity remains astonishing, resisting erosion and collapse for centuries, a testament to both material choice and engineering foresight. Unlike softer rock formations, the granite has withstood centuries of monsoons, seismic activity, and human interaction without significant structural compromise. This durability not only preserved the physical space, but also ensured that the visual and acoustic experiences conceived by its creators endure across millennia. The caves, in their enduring perfection, challenge assumptions about the limits of ancient construction and invite continual re-evaluation of historical capabilities. Despite ongoing studies, no consensus exists on how the builders achieved such exactness or why certain design choices dominate the chamber's layout. Modern engineers and archaeologists remain puzzled by the alignment of walls, the flawless polish of surfaces, and the apparent intentionality behind the spatial acoustics. Each investigation yields new insights, while simultaneously raising deeper questions about tool technology, labour organisation, and conceptual design. The lingering mystery fuels speculation and scholarly debate, ensuring that these caves continue to inspire wonder and curiosity. These caves influenced generations of rock-cut temples and monasteries throughout India, their geometric mastery echoing in constructions far beyond the Mauryan heartland. Later, Buddhist and Jain rock-cut structures borrow both stylistic and structural elements that appear first in the Barabar caves, demonstrating the far-reaching impact of this early architectural experimentation. The legacy of these chambers is evident not only in physical monuments, but also in the conceptual understanding of space, acoustics, and the human experience of sacred geometry, all of which continue to resonate in architectural studies today. Modern visitors often pause, struck by the sense that the stones themselves are communicating, their smooth surfaces concealing knowledge lost to time. The tactile experience, combined with the visual and auditory phenomena, gives the impression that the builders encoded a subtle message or method within the rock itself. Every polished corner, every sharply defined angle seems deliberate, inviting reflection on what might have guided such extraordinary precision. Even in silence, the caves speak across centuries, their presence at once serene and enigmatic, a tangible bridge to a past that resists full comprehension. Millennia may pass above ground, yet the Barabar caves endure as a silent enigma, their flawless granite daring us to uncover secrets that remain stubbornly beyond reach. The Acropolis Foundations, Greece. At the heart of Athens, the foundations of the Acropolis rise with a quiet authority, their precise alignment hinting at a mastery of engineering that predates many known methods, each layer fitting so seamlessly it seems almost impossible. These bedrock terraces, meticulously levelled and reinforced, support structures that would become some of the most iconic monuments of classical civilization. The original builders contended with the uneven natural slopes, yet every stone appears deliberately placed to form a coherent, almost otherworldly framework. Observers today can trace the careful selection of materials, the subtle gradients, and the interlocking joints, all revealing a sophistication that seems to surpass the tools of the era. Even as modern Athens hums around the site, the foundations convey an enduring sense of deliberate permanence, as though the ground itself were moulded to host human aspiration. Each step along the terraces invites contemplation of the unseen methods, the unseen labour, and the unrecorded knowledge that shaped this ancient citadel. Layered courses of limestone quarried from nearby hills demonstrate astonishing consistency, their edges refined to near-perfect lines that allow the blocks to bear immense weight without mortar. The surfaces, smoothed with techniques that remain speculative, reflect an understanding of compression and balance that would challenge engineers even today. Tiny wedge-like adjustments between blocks suggest a level of precision that transforms the uneven natural rock into a near-flat platform capable of sustaining monumental temples above. Archaeologists have noted the subtle use of angles and offsets, designed to redirect stress and prevent slippage over centuries, a silent testament to foresight rarely matched in ancient construction. Here, craftsmanship merges seamlessly with structural intelligence, yielding a platform as functional as it is visually commanding. Every stone seems deliberately placed to complement the natural contours of the Acropolis hill, forming terraces that ascend with remarkable uniformity. The blocks vary in size, some comparatively modest while others span several meters, yet they interlock with such precision that modern replicas struggle to emulate their stability. Channels and grooves hint at methods to channel water or accommodate structural shifts, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of the local environment. Each terrace serves a dual purpose: practical support for the monumental temples above and a visual rhythm that conveys order and permanence. In tracing these lines, one begins to grasp the intentionality behind every placement, the marriage of natural topography with architectural foresight. Angles and curves are subtly integrated into the foundations, redirecting forces from earthquakes and time-worn erosion while enhancing the overall stability of the citadel. The builders seem to have anticipated the movement of the earth beneath, adapting their design to mitigate long-term structural failure. Observation reveals deliberate recesses and slight inclinations, perhaps designed to reduce strain on the limestone blocks and absorb seismic shocks. Even the smallest variations appear calculated, contributing to the overall harmony of the complex. Walking the terraces, it is impossible not to sense the careful orchestration of geometry and geology, the quiet ingenuity hidden in plain sight. The precision extends to the joints between stones, which fit so closely that even a thin blade cannot be inserted without resistance. This interlocking system likely served both structural and symbolic purposes, a method of ensuring longevity while expressing a mastery over the raw materials. Each connection exhibits subtle refinements, suggesting repeated adjustments by highly skilled artisans. These joints form a lattice of silent strength, resisting centuries of environmental pressure while preserving the intended aesthetic of the Acropolis. Such care implies that the builders were not merely constructing a foundation, they were crafting an enduring statement of order and knowledge. Traces of ancient tools and smoothing techniques hint at methods lost to history, leaving scholars to speculate on the precise means of achieving such immaculate surfaces. Some surfaces bear parallel grooves, while others reveal slight curvature meant to distribute weight evenly, suggesting a systematic approach to stone preparation. The absence of documented methods makes each observation a tantalizing puzzle, offering glimpses into advanced techniques that predate written engineering manuals. It is clear that these foundations were not built hastily, but were conceived as part of a comprehensive plan, integrating both structural integrity and aesthetic composition. The Acropolis foundations demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of seismic activity, with carefully arranged courses and interstitial spaces that allow for subtle movement without collapse. This level of foresight indicates knowledge far exceeding casual construction practices, pointing to a culture that placed immense value on precision and endurance. Each terrace appears to absorb and channel potential vibrations, maintaining stability over millennia of natural stresses. The ingenuity of this approach reveals a deep observation of nature and an intuitive grasp of forces invisible to the naked eye, a silent engineering language encoded in stone. Survey markers and alignment lines suggest the builders applied geometric principles to ensure that the foundations matched astronomical or urban grids above. Certain terraces correspond to sightlines leading to the Parthenon and other temples, implying a deliberate connection between foundation and superstructure. The planning would have required exact measurements, careful leveling, and rigorous oversight, all without modern instruments. Such an orchestrated integration of ground, temple, and cityscape emphasizes that the Acropolis was conceived as a unified vision, not merely a series of structures placed atop a hill. Evidence of tool marks and leveling adjustments indicates an extraordinary labor investment, possibly spanning generations. Craftsmen carefully shaped each block to conform to the intended geometry, and small deviations were corrected with remarkable skill. The surviving stones demonstrate not just mechanical knowledge, but aesthetic sensibility, aligning function with a visual narrative of order and grandeur. The subtle placement of certain stones suggests symbolic or ritual significance, though their meaning remains a subject of debate. The foundations stand as silent witnesses to a sophisticated process of thought, labor, and design rarely rivaled in the ancient world. Intersections between terraces and retaining walls reveal a level of integration that ensured the entire foundation acted as a single, cohesive system. Channels for drainage, small recesses, and angled supports work together to maintain equilibrium, prevent erosion, and preserve structural stability. These features suggest that the builders were attentive not only to the immediate weight of temples, but to centuries of environmental impact. Each observation highlights the ingenuity required to conceive a system capable of surviving the passage of time, natural hazards, and human intervention. Artifacts and fragments found within the foundational layers provide glimpses of the construction process, from preliminary sketches etched into stones to remnants of scaffolding or guiding stakes. These discoveries, though sparse, hint at a combination of planning, labour organisation, and careful execution that facilitated the creation of such monumental foundations. Even without complete records, the physical evidence speaks volumes about the knowledge, skill, and foresight embedded within the stones, offering a silent chronicle of human ambition and ingenuity. The integration of foundations with later additions to the Acropolis demonstrates the adaptability of the original design. Subsequent architects and builders respected the original geometry, adding structures that align perfectly with the terraces below. This compatibility over centuries reflects not only the precision of the original work, but also a vision that anticipated the city's evolving spiritual, civic, and aesthetic needs. It is a rare example of ancient foresight, allowing successive generations to build upon an enduring base without compromising stability or design integrity. Today, the Acropolis foundations continue to captivate observers, not merely as the base for temples, but as an enduring example of human mastery over stone, space, and gravity. Their precise geometry, subtle engineering solutions, and seamless integration with the landscape leave an impression of deliberate intelligence that transcends time. Each terrace, joint, and contour conveys knowledge that remains partially hidden, a silent testimony to the ingenuity of its creators. The foundations invite contemplation not only of the structures above, but of the minds and hands that brought them into being. As a testament to human foresight, the Acropolis foundations remain enigmatic, holding secrets that persistently challenge our understanding. Easter Island's AHU platforms, Rapa Nui. From the moment the shoreline curves into the island's heart, the AHU platforms rise with deliberate order, each moai gazing outward as if keeping silent vigil over the volcanic terrain. Their elongated heads and torsos, carved from the tuff of Raraku quarry, project an unsettling sense of purpose. The platforms themselves, low but imposing terraces of stone, anchor each statue as though the earth itself had been shaped to cradle them. Time and weather have softened the edges of the rock, yet their presence remains commanding, a testament to the precision and vision of a society whose methods are still debated. The tuff and basalt quarried from nearby slopes reveal a mastery of stonework, each block meticulously shaped despite the absence of metal tools or wheeled transport. Close inspection uncovers marks from stone chisels, grooves that hint at measured strikes rather than hurried labour. Even the heaviest moai, weighing up to 70 tons, were eventually set upon foundations with remarkable care. The precision suggests an understanding of weight distribution and balance that seems almost improbable for a pre-contact island society, raising questions about the knowledge and techniques passed through generations. Level terraces of volcanic rock form the foundations of the AHU, their joints aligned with such precision that centuries of wind and rain have barely unsettled them. The platforms rise in subtle gradients, engineered to prevent erosion and channel rainfall away from the stones. Scholars studying these foundations note the faint traces of earthworks that may have assisted in moving the statues into position, but the full sequence remains speculative. Each terrace functions as both pedestal and stage, giving the moai a sense of monumental significance that endures despite the island's remote location. Legends and experiments alike hint at the ingenuity behind moving the moai, yet the exact method by which entire communities transported them miles across uneven terrain remains elusive. Oral traditions speak of walking the statues upright, rocking them from side to side, while modern tests have shown ropes, wooden sleds, and log rollers could have been used. Every method carries its own challenges. A slight miscalculation could topple a moai or crack its foundation. This persistent mystery continues to draw both scientific inquiry and imaginative speculation, intertwining practical engineering with the realm of ritual and belief. Careful observation shows that many platforms orient toward the solstice sun, suggesting a celestial awareness woven into the very architecture of the island. During the summer solstice, the rising sun aligns with certain AHU, casting elongated shadows that enhance the sense of movement and drama. Some platforms appear deliberately placed to mark lunar cycles or prominent stars, signalling that the Rapa Nui were attentive not only to the land, but also to the heavens. For the Rapa Nui people, each AHU was more than stone. It was a marker of ancestral presence, a stage for ritual, and a symbol of societal hierarchy. Moai facing inland may have represented the manor of important clans, projecting authority over the communities they oversaw. Ceremonial pathways, scattered offerings, and stone structures adjacent to platforms hint at gatherings that blended the spiritual with the political. The scale of labour required to raise a single moai, let alone an entire row, implies centralised coordination and a shared cultural purpose, suggesting that these structures were as much about social cohesion as they were about religious devotion. The integration of moai into their platforms required subtle engineering, with each base carved to interlock and absorb seismic shifts without toppling. Some platforms feature sloping surfaces, grooves and recesses that cradle the statues, distributing their immense weight across multiple points. Observers note that even earthquakes, which periodically sweep across the island, have largely failed to dislodge the moai, a silent testimony to the ingenuity embedded in stone. Weathered surfaces tell a quiet story of centuries, with erosion exposing clues about construction techniques, while restoration efforts attempt to preserve their original lines. Some statues bear fragments of red scoria headdresses, suggesting ceremonial adornment that once crowned the otherwise austere forms. These details, subtle but telling, reveal a society attentive to both symbolism and sustainability, embedding practical wisdom into each monumental act. Moving and erecting the statues demanded coordinated labour, precise timing, and an understanding of leverage, revealing a complex society capable of remarkable feats. Archaeological experiments show that a team of dozens could manipulate ropes and wooden supports to walk a moai upright, but the effort would have required meticulous planning. Pitfalls of balance, terrain, and weather made the task dangerous, yet multiple moai were successfully positioned over centuries, attesting to organisational skill as much as physical strength. The very act of placement, repeated across dozens of platforms, underscores a sophisticated grasp of mechanics and communal cooperation that remains striking today. Across the island, the placement of platforms reflects not only ceremonial intent, but also a sophisticated reading of the land's slopes, valleys, and volcanic ridges. AHU perched near cliffs seem to mark boundaries or lookout points, while others line fertile plains, integrating the spiritual landscape with daily survival. Some platforms occupy subtly elevated positions that amplify their visibility, as if intended to impress observers approaching from a distance. The careful consideration of terrain hints at a culture that measured space in both pragmatic and symbolic terms, turning the island itself into a stage for monumental architecture. Questions linger about incomplete platforms, inward-facing moai, and the choices behind their dimensions, leaving the full meaning of the AHU shrouded in mystery. Certain statues were abandoned mid-formation in the quarry, while others seem to have been realigned or moved long after their initial placement. Scholars debate whether these variations signify shifts in ritual practice, clan rivalry, or simply logistical constraints. Each unanswered question magnifies the sense of enigma surrounding the island, ensuring that even in the age of satellites and drones, the AHU retain a power over the imagination that transcends empirical observation. Generations of inhabitants and visitors have marvelled at these monuments, recognising both their aesthetic presence and the unresolved puzzle of their creation. Despite modern archaeology, the allure of the AHU lies as much in their silence as in their construction, inviting reflection on the interplay between human ambition, spirituality, and ingenuity. They remain symbols of creativity, endurance, and the mysterious dialogue between people and place. Time has etched its passage into the stone, yet the AHU platforms of Rapa Nui continue to whisper a silent enigma that defies both history and reason.